think it has been a little while since we hung out. I've done a lot of Prager, done some Hewitt, like to spread myself around the Salem radio network, but here on the Larry Elder Show, there's something just particularly special. And in view of my everyday gig as the morning show, happy morning show host here at 6:60 a.m. The Answer in Dallas, Fort Worth, it means for those lucky listeners, these days are called Just Too Much of Me. I get to take them to work in the morning and then gently return them home in the evening. So DFW listeners, hello again. And to the rest of the country, hi. Great to be here with you. Mark Davis, follow me on Twitter at Mark Davis, M-A-R-K Davis. A whole other show takes place over there. We appreciate that because I'm going to bring up some stuff today as soon as I tell you where Larry is, how important it is, and what you can do to support what he's about here. Let me give you the phone number. You know that. 888-971-SAGE. 888-971-SAGE. Whether it's Larry Elder, the real sage, or the sagebrush, I don't know who coined that for me. I am forever filled with Texas gratitude. Anyway, though, are you ready to fight? Are you ready to do battle on several fronts? Because that's what it's about in June. It's what it's going to be about in July. It's what it's going to be about in August, all the way till November 3rd. And if you think we're done, let's say Trump wins. Thank God in heaven, let's say Trump wins. Do you think we're done then? We will still have a country to save. We will still have so much to do. And that's kind of the shape that I want to take things in. I've got questions for you. You know, I always have questions. Many of our stations are called The Answer. You provide the answer, the host unloads the questions, and here we go. And it involves how you feel we should fight. Now, when I say fight, I mean metaphorically. I always want to be optimistic. I always want to be upbeat. The left fights dirty, engages in character assassination, engages in the lowest of tactics. I never want to do that. I want to fight hard, but I want to fight smart. I want to fight hard, but I want to fight smart against the war on police. I want to fight hard, but I want to fight smart against Trump administration turncoats like that lying weasel John Bolton. I want to fight hard, but I want to fight smart in order to get a Supreme Court that can somehow pull its head out and realize what the Constitution is and what it says. We might need Trump and a Republican presidency thereafter, which would be nice anyway, in order to get the conservative majority that, silly me, I thought we had. You know, John Roberts is John Roberts, or should I say John Roberts is David Souter. But Neil Gorsuch, if we got more of this to look forward to from Neil Flippin' Gorsuch, this was supposed to be one of the reasons we voted for Trump and one of the things we were supposed to be able to use to say, hey, 2020, give me that Trump second term. You'll get more Kavanaugh and more Gorsuch. Well, I want more Kavanaugh. I do not want more Gorsuch unless Neil Gorsuch can rediscover his constitutionalist soul and act on it. Because in two cases now, today's involving DACA, in which the Supreme Court essentially said, Obama can do it, any president can do it. Unilaterally, from the White House, craft new immigration law. And if you can craft new immigration law, you can craft anything. And speaking of crafting things and making stuff up, the ruling a few days ago that was all about gay and transgender rights, you have to realize, justices should realize, that none of this has anything to do with what you think of gay people, trans people, their plight, the empathy you may have, your friends you may have. None of that matters. None of that matters. None of it. It's about what the Constitution says. And in that particular case, there's a thing called Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It's about discrimination on various bases, the basis of race, basis of color, basis of national origin, and yes, the basis of sex. Sex as in what you are. Remember, that's what it used to mean. Are you a man? Are you a woman? Well, we fired her because she was a woman. Can't do that. Can't fire a guy for being a man either. If that happens, I guess it does. It has nothing to do, repeat, nothing with homosexuality and nothing to do with transgender status. Here's the ridiculousness. In today's America, if we wanted to add gays and transsexual people to the list of protections, I think we could probably do that by lunchtime tomorrow through Congress. It's that popular. It's that empathetic. It's that woke. And so why was it even necessary for an activist court practicing judicial tyranny to do this by the wave of their mighty robed hands? It was an offense to the rule of law, an offense to the Constitution. And not because anybody is pro or anti-gay rights, pro or anti the trans community, that's why Lady Justice, that maybe the one remaining statue in Washington when we're all done doing the cleansing of the statues, got a few things to say about that too. Get ready. It's going to be a busy show. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-SAGE. The statue of Lady Justice that's along Pennsylvania Avenue at the Justice Department is seated, and she is blindfolded and holds a set of scales. She holds the set of scales because that's the balance that justice is supposed to exact. It's supposed to weigh things in a fair and equitable and just sense. The blindfold is because justice is supposed to be blind to who you are. It's not supposed to go, oh, that's a rich person, we'll favor that person. Or, oh, that's a white person, we're going to favor that person. Or, oh, that's a black person, we're going to favor that person because we're sorry about whatever. I mean, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be dismissive. Sorry about slavery. Sorry about George Floyd. Sorry about, we got a lot to regret. And you know what? And let's tie a bow around that, because I guess we got to talk about some of the social strife and the tragedy of these last few weeks. When America saw the George Floyd video, America with a unity I can't remember. I mean, I don't want to make stuff up here, but maybe you tell me if you think there's another example. Maybe only 9/11, and I'm not doing apples and apples here, but I'm just trying to remember, what was there this kind of 90+% agreement? People saw that George Floyd video and they went, damn, that's bad. We were ready to go. And I hate that it took that video for us to get to reforms, and we're talking about them now. And, you know, better late than never, or justice delayed is justice denied. We can trade slogans all day. But it would have happened. America was ready. They took a look at this. We are not a racist country. We are an enlightened country. We are a kind country. We are a good country. There are a ton of people who don't believe any of that. That's why we are at war, a battle of ideas. And the tragedy is that we could have been making progress, and I guess we are making some progress. We are. There are ideas of reform coming down the pike. I'll tell you the ones I like: more accountability, the ability to identify the bad cops and keep a chronicle of their malfeasance, stemming the police unions and their ability to keep bad cops on the job. Totally got to take care of that. I'm real tired of having people die of whatever race and then learning, oh, well, Officer Krupke had 18 strikes against him. Well, what was he doing in the uniform anyway? And the other thing is training, better training, and de-escalation, and all those things that you hear. Those are real, and those are good, and those are things that we ought to do. Yet that's not what we're doing. Instead, we are throwing things at the cops. We're poisoning their food. We're blowing their brains out at street corners in the New York metropolitan area. There is a war on the police. There is. And can we spare a little bit of empathy for that too? Can we please do that? On the local show that I do, I always begin with a prayer, and if I can, I'm going to do it here. Lord, we ask you today on the Larry Elder Show with the country listening, we ask you for wisdom and goodwill, the wisdom to navigate our problems from COVID-19, social strife, everything. Fill us with the energy to be smart and safe as we reclaim our lives in the virus era. Amid all these tensions, let us treat each other with respect and patience. Remind us, Almighty God, that in the most challenging of times, you are there to unite us to follow your guidance even as we disagree, and treat each other as we would like to be treated. If we follow you, Lord, we know we can get through anything. And we ask these things in your holy name. Amen. So the question arises, where's Larry? I'll tell you next, because it's awesome. It's terrible that he's not here. You hate the fill-in guy. I'm going to do my best. But there's a place Larry is, and it's great. I'll tell you about it next, because it's something you'd all be excited about. Mark Davison for Larry.
You're listening to The Larry Elder Show.
This is Owen Strand for townhall.com. A call is going out now for the dismantling of the Minneapolis Police Department. The president of the city council said this when asked about what to do in the case of a break-in.
Yes, I mean, I hear that loud and clear from a lot of my neighbors. And I know, and myself too, and I know that that comes from a place of privilege, because for those of us for whom the system is working, I think we need to step back and imagine what it would feel like to already live in that reality, where calling the police may mean more harm is done.
There's no doubt that our cities and communities need restoration, including greater peaceful engagement between police and citizens. Yet the idea that wanting protection is privilege is not sound. In fact, it's absurd and won't restore anything. Police who act unjustly are accountable to the rule of law and must be. But there is no need to qualify what a society without police will look like. More harm will surely be done. May coming days bring greater safety and meaningful restoration. I'm Owen Strachan.
ADF, fighting for those whose religious freedom is being violated.
Attention business owners. As America gets back to work, will customers know you're there? With little warning, the coronavirus attacked our nation and our well-being in ways we never anticipated. The tragic loss of life, unprecedented economic upheaval, and a shattered sense of security has left many individuals and businesses in shambles. While the aftershocks could be felt for months to come, they may not have to. There is hope for an extraordinary turnaround of your bottom line. But will you be prepared for America's grand reopening? All signs point to the biggest business opportunity of our lifetime, coming as early as this summer. A recent survey of local advertisers shows a 10-point jump in the number of local advertisers who plan to maintain or increase their spending. 1 in 4 businesses expect to spend more in advertising by the end of June, and more than half expect to restart or surge their spending by this summer. As the numbers forecast increased spending from advertisers across the country, will your message be seen and heard? Will your business benefit from the pent-up consumer demand? Salem Surround is prepared to help you deliver the right advertising message to reach all potential customers wherever they are. Your business can be ready for a post-COVID-19 economy, but the time to act is now. Be at the front of the line as our economy begins to fire on all cylinders once again. For a free assessment of your marketing message and strategy, visit salemsurround.com or contact your local media strategist today.
Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Joined by an old friend, Ralph Reed is the chairman and CEO of Century Strategies. He's been working as an advisor to presidents for as long as I've been behind this microphone. He's an old friend, but he has a new book, For God and Country, The Christian Case for Trump. Welcome back. Good to talk to you, friend.
Thanks so much, Hugh. A big fan, regular listener of the show. Great to be with you.
I got to say, Appendix 1. When I'm done with God and Country, I'm just going to tear out Appendix 1 because it's my show every day between now and November. Would you explain to people what you did for everybody?
What we did, Hugh, was we put together a roughly 30-page appendix of all of the incredible accomplishments and achievements of President Trump in just the first 3 years of his first term. And, it's not just on the issues that are dear to many Christians of life and religious freedom.
Tomorrow. Let's usher it in the following way. What do we love about Larry? His conservatism, his personality, just all the things that make him a force of nature. Now, as conservatives, we're the people who do not really care what race anybody is, right? That by definition, we really are the people who look at content of character, look at ideas rather than skin color. That having been said, in a still very racialized nation, not a racist nation, but a nation very hopped up on issues of race, that's why you can't break 10% of the black vote for a Republican candidate. Now, Trump very well may. Man, if Trump gets 20% of the black vote, it's over, and it's over early, but don't let me get ahead of myself. Black conservatism is an amazing history. It's an incredible thing. And the people, and again, I speak as somebody I could not care less what color anybody is. But do I have sort of extra love for Larry for what he represents, and not just for the black community, but for the country in helping African-American folk come on over and test the waters of conservatism when everybody at Thanksgiving, the barbershop, your family, your friends, your workplace has been telling you that Donald Trump's the Antichrist and that Republicans hate you and conservatives are demon spawn. Well, there are black conservatives out there, Larry, Alan West, Candace Owens, Herman Cain, folks I could name, and folks who sort of get that extra special love for the courage that they show in a movement that doesn't just fight for conservatism, but shows by example what conservatism can mean for the African American community. I want you to see a movie this weekend. It is an oral history. Some of the people I just mentioned and a whole lot more, some of them famous, some of them not, talking about their experience, talking about why they, as black people, are proud to be conservative and proud to open a door to bring others into the fold. This oral history of the American black conservative is an extremely important film with the deliciously provocative title, Uncle Tom. Hello. Got your attention now, didn't I? I want you to go to UncleTom.com, check the preview, the trailer that's there right now. Why that title? Oh my gosh. Well, because that's just what you get called. Oh, there's worse. There's more. They could have called it any one of a number of things. These are people who have been called Uncle Tom, or worse, for daring to stray from the groupthink of liberalism. Yeah, I've seen it. I know of what I speak. It is magnificent. It's a collection of really intimate interviews with some of America's most inspired, provocative, black conservative thinkers. Takes a totally different look at being black in America. Uncle Tom, the movie. Check it out. You'll be glad you did. It's downloadable, screenable tomorrow. But you can go to the website, bookmark the website, look at the trailer. They got some trailers, teasers, Uncle Tom merchandise, which will be flying off the shelves, I'm guessing. And so and Larry is deeply involved in this, co-producer of it. Justin Malone behind the director's chair. It's just great. And I promise you will enjoy it. So Larry is about getting out on that promotional soapbox. And I just think it is going to do great business. And I will tell you internally, let me pull the curtain back a little bit. There was some discussion of all parties of like, okay, is this a real good time to be, getting in and sort of getting everybody all riled up? Well, guess what? They're already riled up. But they're riled up in the wrong way. People are riled up and attacking police. People are riled up and setting fire to stuff. People are riled up and commandeering blocks of American cities. If Uncle Tom gets them riled up to make people think, to make people look hard in the mirror at what they really, really stand for, then that's a good kind of activism. That's a good kind of reform. That's a good kind of riled up. So you're darn right, Uncle Tom is going to raise an eyebrow or two, as well it should. Wonderful film. Check it out. Just go look at the trailer now, and it'll be available for screening tomorrow. Okay? All right. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-SAGE. Let's do some phone calls. Let's head out. Let's, that Greenville-Spartanburg goes southwest there on that I-85 to Anderson, South Carolina. And Sean, that is you. Hey, Mark Davison for Larry. How are you doing?
Hey, doing well. Listen, the reason I was calling is, I hadn't heard anything. I haven't really been able to hear what's going on in Atlanta on the news. Last night, I actually called down there when I heard that, the police were walking off the job. And then I realized I had a scanner app. So I hooked it up to Zone 6 in Atlanta. I heard them evacuate one of the precincts because they had people marching towards their precinct. They had one in the back. Well, have you guys heard anything about that?
I tell you what, let's do, because there was a lot of people spouting off last night. Quite frankly, some people making stuff up. So let's go to what really is happening in Atlanta, and let me ask your thoughts about it. Atlanta's police are not thrilled about the felony murder charge wrapped around one of their brethren who may well have violated all kinds of procedure, may well have committed a crime. I don't know which one. We'll let hopefully honest DAs and honest juries figure that out. But right now, what it looks like we have in Atlanta is street justice, an attempt to placate the mob by turning any kind of situation like this into felony murder. And the Atlanta police know that this is jacked up. And some of them are saying, you know what? Screw it. I'm not going to work. Let it burn. And that's not a good look either. But what's your thought?
Other than what I heard last night, which was awfully alarming, that's why I'm calling, because I don't know where to turn to hear about that. But they said you need to get in there and get whatever you need to get out of that precinct.
Yeah, okay, listen, I don't want to obsess about that because I don't know. So let's instead, on a day-by-day basis, moving forward, the police are under attack, literally, if not figuratively. And let me ask you this. If the police are frustrated enough, I understand why they are. I've got mixed feelings about the blue flu. I don't think that's ever a good idea. I totally understand, but the sick out is not my favorite thing. I don't think that's a good look. But the most important thing, the doubly, triply not good look, is the kind of hostility that we're being asked to harbor, that everybody's being asked to harbor. The notion, getting rid of live PD on A&E, getting rid of cops, getting rid of the animated thing that showed good police. That's the war on police, and it can't continue. What are your thoughts?
Right. Well, you're missing the point. Is that they're not. If anybody's not showing up, they're showing up because they can't. They don't want to be attacked by looters, and they don't want to go to jail for something. Well, they're not. Right.
Totally understand. That's part of my empathy. You bet, and thank you. They can't not show up. You got to show up. Got to show up. But once you're at work. Once you are there, then 27 questions arise. They wrestled with Mr. Brooks on the ground. I found myself thinking, how in the world was he even able to get up and run away? And I wonder if post-George Floyd, cops all over America are thinking, I better not even hold a guy down in any way for fear of 30 seconds of video or 10 seconds of video that might look like an I can't breathe moment. The war on police is not going to work well on anybody, especially some of the underprivileged folk who are crowing the loudest about the police. Be right back.
If anybody doubted how strong America is, look at all we've been through in the past few months and understand why we're still standing. We're still standing because we believe in the bonds that bring us together. We believe in freedom and liberty. And we believe that after all we've been through, nothing can defeat us. So let's cheer as America gets ready to rebuild and remake our lives bigger, stronger, better than ever before. Keep it here to find out how. We are the answer. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Is it of importance to us in interpreting the events of the last 2+ weeks that we are seeing all of this happen predominantly in hardcore Democrat-run cities, Gianna?
You know what's interesting about that is that Democrats won't even take credit for the fact that a lot of their policies have caused this to happen. You think about somebody like Joe Biden, who goes into George Floyd funeral with a video message talking about racial reconciliation and healing. Meanwhile, he's a big part of the reason why we have so much division in this country today. You think about the 94 crime bill. If we're going to talk about liberal cities, you can't forget about my hometown of Chicago, where you got a mayor there who provided, or rather asked for, 375 National Guardsmen in the city of Chicago and put them all in the downtown area. Meanwhile, the poor black areas on the south side and west sides are left to fend for themselves. You're talking about minority-owned businesses ruined, which they don't have money to come back. Some of these folks don't even have insurance. And that's across all American spectrums, whether you be white, black, or indifferent. We just lived through COVID. And now you got these liberals whose policies have created a huge mess from a financial tax purpose a tax basis, and now you're disenfranchising poor people more by way of your policies, even through protests and looting. This is unimaginable. Who would have thought that this is where we would be in 2020? But if anybody is really listening and watching what's going on, this should be the best reason not to vote for liberals in any capacity. That's any office, whether it be president, Senate, House, state Senate, state House, mayor, any office. You shouldn't be voting for Democrats. And that's what I've taken away from this time.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
The mayor of New York announced back in May that the city would hire 1,000 contact tracers. They make about $60,000 a year, and they go around and make sure that they keep track of the spread of the disease. If somebody has contracted the virus, where did they go? Where have they been? Well, apparently the mayor's office has instructed these contract tracers not to ask whether anyone who has tested positive for the disease recently attended a demonstration. That's right. They are literally saying that instead they'll ask COVID positive individuals general questions to help them recall contacts, but no person, according to the mayor's spokesman, Avery Cohen, no person will be asked proactively if they attended a protest. Well, I bet you they'll be asking a bunch of Trump supporters if they go to Tulsa where they've been, huh? Insanity. Insanity. All of it has been insane.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
The 5-minute campaign strategy as of today, would it be spend?
Welcome back to the Larry Elder Show.
COVID-19 version of that is get out of the bed, wash your face and hands 27 times. But I'll tell you what, if you did indeed get out of that bed this morning, the question is, did your head just come off of a MyPillow? Oh, my heavens, Mike Lindell, MyPillow, he is so grateful for what you have done for his company. The inventor, CEO of MyPillow, wants to do some giving back to listeners. Mike Lindell at MyPillow offering great discounts on all the products. Go to MyPillow.com. Click on the radio listener specials. You'll see some great offers. Right now, MyPillow is offering an exclusive radio special. Got to buy one, get one free on a variety of cool products. The Supima MyPillows, the Giza Dream Sheets, the MyPillow towels. They have towels. The Roll and Go Anywhere pillows, the duvet covers, the Giza pillowcases, the bolster pillows, the night pillows. And if you buy Mike Lindell's book, which is an awesome read called What Are the Odds? From Crack Addict to CEO, you get free shipping and a $25 gift card. How do you do this? You go to MyPillow.com, enter the promo code Larry, or call 1-800-890-1843, and be sure to use the promo code Larry. MyPillow is answering the call for more face masks. The country continues to deal with the pandemic, and they're going to be making face masks for hospitals across the country. It's the kind of guy Mike Lindell is. MyPillow.com, promo code Larry. All righty, 888-971-SAGE. We are in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. Missy, hey, Mark Davison for Larry. How are you?
I'm well, sir. Thank you for taking my call. I wanted to make a point. If we really want to get to the issue of racism, then we really have to deal with what the problem is. Every time that there's one of these Karen videos that's posted on the internet about how white people treat black people, I've looked at those videos, and if you can tell me what's racist about a behavior that someone found offensive, then we can deal with it. Because the truth of the matter is, white people have confrontations with people all day long, and it's not racist. So why is any confrontation with a black person automatically racist? I can't help how someone feels about themselves. And if you feel marginalized and oppressed and less than in your own mind, I can't fix that. It's amazing that Cory Booker wrote an article the other day and said he would like to walk home in a T-shirt and shorts, but he knows he'll be unsafe and he'll be killed by the police. It's amazing that he doesn't feel like that when he's strutting around the Capitol being large and in charge as Senator Booker. So who has the problem with how they feel? What difference does it make whether you're in the Capitol or whether you're walking out the door? I can't fix problems in your own mind, and I'm tired of being called racist because of how you feel about yourself.
Well,
if you
there's
want
a lot
to
of
blend
let me
in
let me get a word in for
then
5 seconds. Missy, let me get a word in. Let me get a word in for 5 seconds. Let me get a word in for 5 seconds because you're on a roll and it's awesome. And what you're kind of talking about is mind reading. There are people who are purporting to do a certain amount of mind reading, whether it is a tragic police shooting from George Floyd to Rayshard Brooks. Do we know that their blackness was an absolute contributing factor? We do not, but we're being asked to believe that because we simply have to. In some of what you call the Karen videos, where somebody just seems to be giving a black person some kind of holy you know what for just sitting in a hotel lobby or just sitting in a Starbucks or something like that. Do we absolutely know that it is their blackness that attracted negative attention? We do not. Some people are just busybodies. Some people are just jerks. Yeah, I mean, now here's the thing.
I was a police officer for 20 years, and I truly wish that when I started the academy, someone could have defined for me what color crime was. Because I've arrested people from every race and every socioeconomical group above the board, and I was never told what color crime was. So if crime doesn't have a color, then how does the enforcement of it automatically become racist?
Weird, because that's the preferred narrative. Missy, thank you. Appreciate it. That's the preferred narrative. Now, I've seen 100 of those videos, black person given all kinds of grief for doing this or that or thus and such. And I look at some of these folks and I can't read minds either. Sometimes just in tone and carriage, I kind of get the feeling that it's the blackness of the person that's the problem. Maybe in some of them. I don't know magically which ones, but that's kind of my point. I'm just going by my gut feeling. I don't know. When it gets to things that are far more serious, like police shootings, I mean, we'd have to roll into the time tunnel or something, have a white guy steal a taser, try to break out of handcuffs, run away, turn around, shoot the taser back. Have a white guy do that. Have a white guy, pass a fake 20 in Minneapolis and see if he winds up dead too. I don't know, and neither do you, nor does anyone. But we're being but the racist narrative is required of us. Mark Davis in for Larry. Be right back.
You're listening to the Larry Elder Show.
This is Owen Strand for townhall.com. A call is going out now for the dismantling of the Minneapolis Police Department. The president of the city council said this when asked about what to do in the case of a break-in.
Yes, I mean, I hear that loud and clear from a lot of my neighbors. And I know, and myself too, and I know that comes from a place of privilege, because for those of us for whom the system is working, I think we need to step back and imagine what it would feel like to already live in that reality, where calling the police may mean more harm is done.
There's no doubt that our cities and communities need restoration, including greater peaceful engagement between police and citizens. Yet the idea that wanting protection is privilege is not sound. In fact, it's absurd and won't restore anything. Police who act unjustly are accountable to the rule of law and must be. But there is no need to qualify what a society without police will look like. More harm will surely be done. May coming days bring greater safety and meaningful restoration. I'm Owen Strand.
ADF, fighting for those whose religious freedom is being violated.
Attention business owners. As America gets back to work, will customers know you're there? With little warning, the coronavirus attacked our nation and our well-being in ways we never anticipated. The tragic loss of life, unprecedented economic upheaval, and a shattered sense of security has left many individuals and businesses in shambles. While the aftershocks could be felt for months to come, they may not have to. There is hope for an extraordinary turnaround of your bottom line. But will you be prepared for America's grand reopening? All signs point to the biggest business opportunity of our lifetime, coming as early as this summer. A recent survey of local advertisers shows a 10-point jump in the number of local advertisers who plan to maintain or increase their spending. 1 in 4 businesses expect to spend more in advertising by the end of June, and more than half expect to restart or surge their spending by this summer. As the numbers forecast increased spending from advertisers across the country, will your message be seen and heard? Will your business benefit from the pent-up consumer demand? Salem Surround is prepared to help you deliver the right advertising message to reach all potential customers wherever they are. Your business can be ready for a post-COVID-19 economy, but the time to act is now. Be at the front of the line as our economy begins to fire on all cylinders once again. For a free assessment of your marketing message and strategy, visit salemsurround.com or contact your local media strategist today.
Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Joined by an old friend, Ralph Reed is the chairman and CEO of Century Strategies. He's been working as an advisor to presidents for as long as I've been behind this microphone. He's an old friend, but he has a new book, For God and Country, The Christian Case for Trump. Welcome back. Good to talk to you, friend.
Thanks so much, Hugh. A big fan, regular listener of the show. Great to be with you.
I got to say, Appendix 1. When I'm done with God and Country, I'm just going to tear out Appendix 1 because it's my show every day between now and November. Would you explain to people what you did for everybody?
What we did, Hugh, was we put together a roughly 30-page appendix of all of the incredible accomplishments and achievements of President Trump in just the first 3 years of his first term. And, it's not just on the issues that are dear to many Christians of life and religious freedom and originalists and constitutionalists on the courts and Israel, but it's really all the issues, including jobs and the economy and the budget and so forth. And it's updated regularly, by the way, on the Faith and Freedom website. So the reason why it was important.
All across America, The Larry Elder Show.
Little Three Dog Night. Big hit in 1970. But written by whom for you music dorks? Ready? That would be Randy Newman. All righty, there you go. See, no charge. All these extra facts are free. Mark Davison for Larry. How are you doing? Well, no shortage of stuff to shake the talk show stick at. Breakdown in law enforcement in Atlanta. Breakdown in rule of law in the Supreme Court. I'll tell you what. I'm paying zero attention to the Bolton book, except to identify the phenomenon which is once again at hand. Whether it's Mattis, Kelly, or any other turncoat who loves Trump and then decides he doesn't, and there are few things that are as slimy as the tell-all book. And I'm going to tell you something. If somebody came out of the Obama White House, or especially while the Obama White House was in progress for those 8 torturous years, but let's say somebody came out of there and decided to just turn tail on Barack Obama and reveal all kinds of nasty, uncomplimentary, brutal, critical things, I'd think that was pretty low rent as well. Oh, I'd probably eat it up. And I'm half kidding about that. But it's just not right. And John Bolton, I've interviewed John Bolton a number of occasions. And I believe John Bolton loves the country. I believe John Bolton loves the military. But at the top of the list of things John Bolton loves is John Bolton. And he got into the Trump administration, and I think he figured, I'll show this guy. I'll show this neophyte. I'll show him how to do foreign policy. And guess what? Trump said, no, we're not going to have more endless wars. We're not going to flood trouble spots with more troops. We're not going to do things your way. You ain't the president. I am. And at that point, John Bolton went immediately south and now comes out and writes this stupid book. And the most telling thing, all you really need, is that a media culture that hated Bolton's guts now loves him. Gee, I wonder why. All righty, let's roll out west of Philly. Let's go. Let's head into Delco, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, Broomall, Pennsylvania. Mac, hey, Mark Davison for Larry Elder. How are you? Hey, Mac. That's either a bit or not. Either way, I appreciate it. All right, 888-971-SAGE. That was terrible. I should have kept him on hold and given him an opportunity to perhaps rediscover the show. No, he will indeed. Hey, listen, I'm a big believer in the nap. I'm a practitioner of the nap. I get up at 4-something in the morning. There are times to take one and times not to. Get us back, sir. Nice to have you. I will tell you, there was one time I was filling in for you. We had a guest pass out. Not pass out. That's terrible. Went to the phones and a guest on hold. I won't give it up. You can probably Google it somewhere. Went to the guest. Hey, Mark Davison for you. Welcome to the Hewitt Show. And I think it made Jimmy Fallon that night or something like that. So anyway, hey, the days are long. Life is stressful. All right, I'll tell you what's got me energized. Now, no napping when things like this are going on. So let me share a couple of things with you and see what you think about them. Because I don't just want to complain about problems. I want to offer up some solutions. Okay, because a part of solving a problem is identifying what the problem is. Because a lot of people said about President Trump, candidate Trump, they said all he does is talk about, all these terrible things. But that's the first step to solving them. The first step to getting better borders is identifying how terrible it is that our borders are so porous. The first step toward protecting our religious liberties is identifying the slovenly nature with which our system of laws has protected them. The best way to go after a fallen culture, to repair a fallen culture, is to identify first the ways in which it is fallen. So in terms of the Supreme Court, and I know it's hard, we had in the gay and trans rights cases, we had justices who I guess felt sorry for people. And by the way, I'm a human being. You know what some of those cases were, by the way? There was one guy who was a worker in a county worker in Georgia, working for child welfare, and he joined a gay softball league. It's not like he paraded around the workplace wearing a rainbow flag. He joined a gay softball league, off the job, outside of work, fired him. That ain't right. But it's also not illegal. You can like it or not like it. If you want to change Title VII, change it through the Congress. There was one guy who was a skydiving instructor. He told somebody he was gay. You know who? You know why? It was a woman. Because if you ever done skydiving, you got a big dude strapped to your back. Read that in my book, Why I'm Never Skydiving. Kidding. I may at some point. Anyway, but a woman, and I'm guessing you'd have a big hulking man, strapped to your back if you're a woman, and he literally, in an attempt to sort of calm and comfort her, said, by the way, ma'am, I'm gay, don't sweat it. Well, I guess it got back, and he got fired, and that just seems wrong. He was just trying to do some consumer outreach, so to speak. Now, the third case I'm going to stand up for. This is the transsexual, the man who told his employer, a funeral home, next week I'm coming in and I'm a woman. And they essentially said, not here, you're not. They figured as a funeral home, the folks coming in have got enough to deal with, thank you very much, without even getting to the visual disconnect of a guy who feels like a woman. So just no. I totally stand behind that firing. You can feel about all those three firings however you like. None of it matters. None of it matters. Get it? Facts don't care about your feelings. Is that a Ben Shapiro-ism? Did he coin it or does he just say it a lot? Well, I'm going to borrow it too. Facts don't care about your feelings, my feelings, and the fact is that Title VII does not address homosexuality or transgender status. It doesn't. The reason the justices did that is they just felt bad for people. They just felt like it's the way they ought to be. Ditto with Obergefell, the gay marriage, the cram down of gay marriage in every state. They thought how terrible that these gay people can't be married. First of all, anybody can be married. It's whether the state must recognize it. That's not based on the law or constitution. They said, we want to be nice to gay people. Roe v. Wade, 1973. Here comes the anniversary. The anniversary is January. The Walk for Life is coming up across much of America here later on this summer. And that was because they thought a woman is pregnant. She ought to be able to take care of that. What? It's not about what you think. It's not about your feelings. There is no right to abortion in the Constitution. It's about the Constitution. We got to find some fresh justices and move toward that in a second Trump term. Mark Davison for Larry, right back.
You're listening to The Larry Elder Show.
Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Here's the former vice president asserting that the sitting president is going to attempt to steal the election on November 3rd. This is what he said.
It's my greatest concern, my single greatest concern. This president's going to try to steal this election. This is the guy who said that all mail-in ballots are fraudulent, direct voting by mail, while he sits behind the desk in the Oval Office and writes his mail-in ballot to vote in the primary.
That's his biggest fear, is that Donald Trump will steal the election. So here we go again with, it was Russia, right? Russia interfered with the election in 2016. Russia got Trump elected, according to the narrative that resulted in an investigation, which led to a complete rebuke of that dubious claim. But it looks like they're going to go back to it again. They're going to go back to election fraud.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
I want to share with you Raynor Jackson's comments, because this came from the White House, where the president is sort of, in his way, on a listening tour. You know, I know that the rap against Donald Trump is that he doesn't listen to anybody, and that, of course, is a lot of hogwash. He does listen. He ultimately makes decisions based on his gut, on his instincts, on what got him to the White House in the first place. But quite frankly, anybody who's been around him recognizes he does spend a lot of time listening to advisors, listening to people who are willing to bend his ear. So here's Raynor Jackson.
But what I'd like to say to you, Mr. President, is kind of off the beaten path. I'd like to say to all the media assembled here that I wish they would quit lying about what you've done specifically for the black community. So you got radical liberal journalists like Joy Reid from MSNBC, Don Lemon from CNN, Roland Martin, who are putting more poison into the black community than any drug dealer, who are killing more black folks than any white person with a sheet over their face. How are they doing it? Spreading these lies about the economy you have, Mr. President, before the virus was a continuation of Obama. That's just factually not true. I have a degree in accounting. I keep up with the economy. They're lying. So to all these folks on MSNBC, CNN.
Welcome back to the Larry Elder Show.
I don't mean the Rod Serling Twilight Zone. I mean the Golden Earring Twilight Zone. Yeah. Alrighty, Mark Davison for Larry. Let's wrap up this hour with a few choice things. Let's go to the phones. I'll throw a couple other things at you here that are in my head. Bring me things in your head at 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-SAGE. Let us roll to Minnesota. Dan, hey, Mark Davison for Larry. How are you?
I'm well, thank God. Mark, how are you?
Doing great, thank you.
Awesome, Mark. I'm calling because I heard your prayer while I was driving shortly after you started the show, and I was wondering if you could tell me where I could find that in writing. I really love that prayer.
You are so kind. Well, okay, it's a tough request. Made it up in my head. I was kind of riffing as I go along. I will tell you what I do. Oh, gosh, is there something I can do here? I think on the Mark Davis Show Facebook page, which we have mostly for the local audience, I think I posted, well, you know what? I posted it when all it was, I started doing this in the middle of March. I was on vacation during what was spring break, And on Thursday of that week, when the NBA announced they were canceling their season, I turned to my wife and I said, you realize vacation is over, right? And I came back and I did Thursday, Friday, and then through the rest of March and all of April and into May, I did the same prayer about COVID-19 and coping, not just with the disease, but coping with the government lockdown that shut down our lives. And then as other things exploded, often quite literally, I said, well, we need to pray for peace and for goodwill and for good progress and for some degree of godly path as we work our way through racial strife, as we work our way through absolutely everything. So,
well, maybe God inspired you. It just sounded beautiful, and I'd love it if maybe you could play it back and write it up and put it on your Facebook page.
Let me share something, and it's useful. It'll give you exactly what you want. In an old Saturday Night Live, Kevin Nealon was doing Weekend Update, and he said, if you'd like a transcript to tonight's broadcast, get out a pencil and write down everything I say. And he means it as a joke. But here's the thing. Go for everybody, because I do it at the beginning of every day show on my local show. And every show is in a podcast at 660amtheanswer.com, 660amtheanswer.com. Go to this morning show, 7 o'clock this morning. And as I begin the show, there it'll be. Hit pause a few times, hit at the laptop, boom, there you go.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you. I appreciate it so much. I got to give I remember that someday on the radio. That would be it. If you want a transcript, take out a pencil and write down everything I say. Yeah, if you ever crave the local show that I do, 660amtheanswer.com, click podcast, then Mark Davis, and boom, there you are. An adventure every day, but today's adventure, 2 shows. Glad that the second one is this one, Mark Davis and for Larry. Stick around, much more to come.
You're listening to The Larry Elder Show.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
That's a good question to ask a leftist friend. Do you agree with Lincoln said that America is the last best hope of mankind or of the earth? But they would say no. Typical article I have here, The Atlantic, which produces massive amounts of nonsense by intellectuals. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's become nihilistic. We are living in a failed state. The coronavirus didn't break America. It revealed what was already broken. And this guy's a staff writer, George Packer, for The Atlantic. I invite George Packer onto the show. It's useless. It's useless. They never debate. Isn't that interesting? Why don't they debate? We would go on any of their shows, any. I remember being on CNN. Don Lemon used to invite me pretty often. And everybody else disagreed with me. I don't care. I'll go on MSNBC. But they would never come on here. And then they would never have us on there. That's the point. The self-delusion of the left that they are the world of reason. That's what's so amazing. We are the irrational in their eyes.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today.
Attention business owners. As America gets back to work, will customers know you're there? With little warning, the coronavirus attacked our nation and our well-being in ways we never anticipated. The tragic loss of life, unprecedented economic upheaval, and a shattered sense of security has left many individuals and businesses in shambles. While the aftershocks could be felt for months to come, they may not have to. There is hope for an extraordinary turnaround of your bottom line. But will you be prepared for America's grand reopening? All signs point to the biggest business opportunity of our lifetime, coming as early as this summer. A recent survey of local advertisers shows a 10-point jump in the number of local advertisers who plan to maintain or increase their spending. 1 in 4 businesses expect to spend more in advertising by the end of June, and more than half expect to restart or surge their spending by this summer. As the numbers forecast increased spending from advertisers across the country, will your message be seen and heard? will your business benefit from the pent-up consumer demand? Salem Surround is prepared to help you deliver the right advertising message to reach all potential customers wherever they are. Your business can be ready for a post-COVID-19 economy, but the time to act is now. Be at the front of the line as our economy begins to fire on all cylinders once again. For a free assessment of your marketing message and strategy, visit salemsurround.com or contact your local media strategist today.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
This is the state of play. And what is the response from the left? Mr. Mayor, please listen to Governor Jay Inslee of Washington State, where some of the worst violence is occurring, on his responsibility or lack thereof to the people of his state.
Thing called the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. What's your thought on that? The fact that the protesters have taken that over and not allowing people to come and go freely? Regarding the regard.
Well, that's news to me, so I'll have to reserve any comment about it. I have not heard anything about that from any credible source. Not that you're not credible. It's just like before I espouse an opinion, I should know of which I speak.
Should a governor be laughing about losing control of the streets of one of his cities, Mr. Matt?
I'm not surprised, Sebastian. Are you?
I'm not, but what does this mean for the people living in Seattle in Washington State?
Well, I mean, I hope that the American people can observe all this and they can see there's no coincidence that the worst riots, the most destruction, the most loss of human life and property occurred in cities and states governed by Democrats. It didn't happen in cities governed by Republicans. And riots didn't happen in my city until it got a Democratic mayor again. The last riot was under a Democratic mayor. I avoided them for 8 years, and Bloomberg did it for 12. And it's not hard to do it if you activate the police to get them to stop it. These people, I don't know what has happened to them. They almost seem like anarchists rather than members of a responsible political party.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today.
This is Owen Strand for townhall.com. A call is going out now for the dismantling of the Minneapolis Police Department. The president of the city council said this when asked about what to do in the case of a break-in.
Yes, I mean, I hear that loud and clear from a lot of my neighbors. And I know, and myself too, and I know that comes from a place of privilege, because for those of us for whom the system is working, I think we need to step back and imagine what it would feel like to already live in that reality, where calling the police may mean more harm is done.
There's no doubt that our cities and communities need restoration, including greater peaceful engagement between police and citizens. Yet the idea that wanting protection is privilege is not sound. In fact, it's absurd and won't restore anything. Police who act unjustly are accountable to the rule of law and must be. But there is no need to qualify what a society without police will look like. More harm will surely be done. May coming days bring greater safety and meaningful restoration. I'm Owen Strand.
ADF, fighting for those whose religious freedom is being violated.
Attention business owners. As America gets back to work, will customers know you're there? With little warning, the coronavirus attacked our nation and our well-being in ways we never anticipated. The tragic loss of life, unprecedented economic upheaval, and a shattered sense of security has left many individuals and businesses in shambles. While the aftershocks could be felt for months to come, they may not have to. There is hope for an extraordinary turnaround of your bottom line. But will you be prepared for America's grand reopening? All signs point to the biggest business opportunity of our lifetime, coming as early as this summer. A recent survey of local advertisers shows a 10-point jump in the number of local advertisers who plan to maintain or increase their spending. 1 in 4 businesses expect to spend more in advertising by the end of June, and more than half expect to restart or surge their spending by this summer. As the numbers forecast increased spending from advertisers across the country, will your message be seen and heard? Will your business benefit from the pent-up consumer demand? Salem Surround is prepared to help you deliver the right advertising message to reach all potential customers wherever they
So glad to be here on this Thursday, the 18th day of June, 2020. Mark Davison for Larry Elder from Dallas, Fort Worth, 660 AM. The Answer. That's where I do the morning show. So it's my second show of the day. Woke everybody up this morning, taking them home now. Hey, DFW, how are you? Great to be with you again. For everybody else, nice to hang in here with Larry. Where is Larry? Larry's doing something very, very important. Larry is on a big promotional weekend for something that will land in America's lap tomorrow. It is a provocative and fascinating film. It is an oral history of black conservatism in America, the kind of courage, the kind of insight, the kind of journey that a lot of folks took. And a lot of these folks who are in this movie used to be liberal, then they thought about it and got better. It is called Uncle Tom. Let the discussions begin. Go to UncleTom.com. There's the preview. You can see what you're in store for, and I will tell you what you're in store for because I've seen this magnificent film. Larry's a co-producer, and Justin Malone's the director, and all these folks are in it whom you will love. Some of them you know, like Larry and Alan West and Herman Cain, Candace Owens. Some you may not know, but you will grow to love and grow to admire. Uncle Tom, an oral history of black conservatism. The title, by the way, comes from the derision that is directed at black men and women who dare to wander from liberal groupthink. So check it out, UncleTom.com. Larry's all about the promotion this long weekend, so that's what he's doing. I'm here today. Could not be prouder. All righty, 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-SAGE. Let me get everybody up to date on where we have been and what we have done and some of the questions that are out there for you. Follow me on Twitter, at Mark Davis. You can shoot me stuff. I'll check it out during the commercial breaks. Got another entire show that happens there. We have talked about the Bolton book. Kellyanne Conway was on with Brett Baer just light in the last hour, talking about what the White House thinks of the Bolton book, and the answer is not much. I don't think much about it either, and I know you're thinking, well, it's because he's bagging on Trump. Look, whether it's Bolton, whether it's Mattis, whether it's some people still in their jobs, General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, what got a hold of him? There's something that happens. What got a hold of him? And I don't mean who got a hold of him. I don't think he was taken out in an alley and beaten or anything. But the culture, the Beltway culture, the establishment culture, maybe it's because they're all part of it, or maybe they don't like getting disinvited from cocktail parties or falling out of favor. When President Trump walked across Lafayette Park, and spare me the notion of peaceful protesters, buildings were on fire the previous night. So just stop it. The powder keg is in the air for any one of these gatherings, potentially. And so they said, you know what? President's going across the street. We need to clear this out. So they did. And the president marches across to St. John's Church to stand, Bible in hand, in front of the burned out hulk of this beautiful, historic place of worship. And was General Milley there? Yes, he was. And he then later on, I'm sorry. This proud military man flagellating himself. What got to him? My dog knows why it was appropriate for him to be there. It's because as our buildings were burning, as our streets were on fire and then littered with the sparkling broken glass of destroyed buildings, the United States military stood ready. The United States military was deployable under the Insurrection Act, if necessary, to return order to the streets. Well, it wound up not being necessary. That's good. And God bless the police and God bless the National Guard. But the potential military component of this was the reason General Milley was there. And what enabled him to lose focus on that? What in the world leads to this mealy-mouthed apology? It lent to the erosion of the image of a politically objective armed forces. I was there as an officer of the Army. It's like he's not at a MAGA rally, for crying out loud. That Saturday in Tulsa. Let's talk about that. But let me finish with the St. John's Church thing for a second. There's just something that happens to people. There's an establishment disease. There's a beltway disease. And this is what draining the swamp is about. You always wonder, what does that draining the swamp thing mean? It means getting rid of either people like Bolton, Comey, McCabe, or hopefully getting rid of attitudes. I hope General Milley can pull his head out and check himself and realize what his job is. And every once in a while, it's going to be to represent the presence and power of the United States military when appropriate. And you know when it might have been appropriate? On the streets of America, because it was getting that bad. All right. I got 5 other things. Let me grab a call or two, and then we'll go to Atlanta, talk about that. And I do want to talk about, well, you know what? Let me just ask you the question, and then just let the magic happen at 888-971-SAGE. 888-971-SAGE. The Trump rally in Tulsa tomorrow is I was going to say it's either A or B. It may be elements of both. Let me ask you, how much of A and how much of B? A is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Christmas in June. The opportunity to put about 20,000 people inside that building and about 50,000 outside in a show of love and respect and support for this president, in a spectacle that Joe Biden could never dream of replicating. America is back. Trump is back. Our lives are back. Thank God. Are there some, I'm not going to say spikes. That is simply graphically inaccurate. There are some upticks. There's some swells in the COVID numbers, and I certainly don't like that. I don't want that. I hope we can get past this curve as well, and I believe we will. But this was always going to happen as we reclaimed our lives. Here in my state of Texas, and this may be coming to you, we're going through a big old brouhaha about masks. I know mask wars are breaking out all over. You know what the Texas flavor of mask wars is? We're a state that likes to leave to the individual or to the individual businessman or woman a lot of decision making, keep government the heck out of our business. And so if a business said, we'd like you to wear a mask, you do it. That's just called being neighborly, being kind, being considerate. Business says we'd like you to wear a mask, wear a mask. Government telling you had to? Oh, hell no. Excuse me. So now, what if there's kind of a middle ground where government is not really going to tell individuals they have to wear masks, but in an idea that came out of Bexar County, San Antonio, we have county judges. They're like county commission chair people. They're not really judges in a judicial sense. We just call them that. It's something we do. Anyway, though, the county judge down in Bexar County said, we're going to make businesses require them. So we're not making people wear masks. We're making businesses make people wear masks. Isn't that kind of a distinction without a difference? Is on the minds of many, many, many Texas conservatives. So you got that. And in the middle of all this back and forth, there are people who are saying if more people are wearing masks, we'll have less transmission. That's probably true. The way I want to get people to wear more masks is by me, I got a talk show telling people, you know what? If you're going to be in close proximity to somebody, put on the stupid mask. If you're going to be up in somebody's grill, first of all, don't get up in somebody's grill. But if you're in a small store, a store wants you to wear them, wear them. There's no skin off your nose. No pun intended. Now, do you have to if you're at Home Depot? Do you have to if you're outside at some vast nursery shopping for bougainvilleas? My thought would be no. You may feel differently. That's called your liberty, your decision making. Anyway, though, as how this all goes back to the Trump rally, these are people who are choosing to go. Will they get a thermometer gun on the way in? Absolutely. Will many of them be wearing masks? Absolutely. Will they be washing their hands like they all got OCD? Absolutely. And will there be 50,000 people outside doing the same thing? And will the media pillory it and condemn it and mock it while they had nothing to say about those other gatherings of late? The Black Lives Matter protests, the riots, the just whatever. If it's a gathering they like, media don't care. This Trump rally is going to be absolutely condemned. So, which makes me love it even more. So get ready. Mark Davis and Larry, your call's next. Some other thoughts as well. Stick around.
You're listening to The Larry Elder Show.
America has been doing some soul searching lately. Perhaps you noticed. We're examining what's right with America and what can be made better. No other country does this kind of introspection better than us. Some of what we found we don't like and will change. Every life has the right to be treated with dignity and respect. That includes our law enforcement as well as every skin color. We've been through this before in America, and we always came out stronger. We will this time too. Our hosts will make sure of that. We are the answer. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Here's the former vice president asserting that the sitting president is going to attempt to steal the election on November 3rd. This is what he said.
It's my greatest concern, my single greatest concern. This president's going to try to steal this election. This is a guy who said that all mail-in ballots are fraudulent, direct voting by mail, while he sits behind the desk in the Oval Office and writes his mail-in ballot to vote in the primary.
That's his biggest fear, is that Donald Trump will steal the election. So here we go again with, it was Russia, right? Russia interfered with the election in 2016. Russia got Trump elected, according to the narrative that resulted in an investigation, which led to a complete rebuke of that dubious claim. But it looks like they're going to go back to it again. They're going to go back to election fraud.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
I want to share with you Raynor Jackson's comments, because this came from the White House, where the president is sort of, in his way, on a listening tour. You know, I know that the rap against Donald Trump is that he doesn't listen to anybody, and that, of course, is a lot of hogwash. He does listen. He ultimately makes decisions based on his gut, on his instincts, on what got him to the White House in the first place. But quite frankly, anybody who's been around him recognizes he does spend a lot of time listening to advisors, listening to people who are willing to bend his ear. So here's Raynor Jackson.
But what I'd like to say to you, Mr. President, is kind of off the beaten path. I'd like to say to all the media assembled here that I wish they would quit lying about what you've done specifically for the black community. So you got radical liberal journalists like Joy Reid from MSNBC, Don Lemon from CNN, Roland Martin, who are putting more poison into the black community than any drug dealer, who are killing more black folks than any white person with a sheet over their face. How are they doing it? Spreading these lies about the economy you have, Mr. President, before the virus was a continuation of Obama. That's just factually not true. I have a degree in accounting. I keep up with the economy. They're lying. So to all these folks on MSNBC, CNN, Roland Martin, what, you're afraid to have real black Republicans who know what the hell they're talking about? If you want to know the truth, if you want us to dissect the Obama economy, let's do it. And I think, Mr. President, your record will win the debate. Thank you.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
By the way, if nobody ends up seriously ill, let alone dead, from all of the rioting and protesting of the last week, will you finally realize that how evil the continuation of lockdown is and the destroying of businesses. The scientists that have led us to this hysteria should have their names
Virginia, Jill, hey, Mark Davison for Larry, how are you doing?
Hello, pretty well, I guess. The
Hi.
thing is, what I am saying about civil rights is, while the government has no right to discriminate against people because of their race, the thing about it is the Civil Rights Bill of 1964 violates a natural right of man in that it goes on to private property and tells owners of property who they must allow onto the property and who they have to deal with. I'm against that because it violates freedom.
Let's spend a minute, because this is an intellectual discussion people can have. In your home, it is completely your world. Our system of laws has come around to say that if you have a business, a place of public accommodation, that the laws are somewhat different, and you still have many, many liberties on how to run your business, but there are going to be some things in places of public accommodation that we're going to say you can't do. What you're presenting is a kind of a very uber-libertarian view that says if a business is, quite frankly, racist enough to say, no black people, well, they can do that. It's their business. Word will get around. Everybody will hate on them, and maybe they'll think twice about it, and the system kind of works. I guess we've decided as a country not to do that, and we offer some protections for those places of public accommodation.
I don't like racists, and I wouldn't like a business owner who did that. But I would think the way to handle that would be boycotts and things like this.
Yeah. And those businesses, I think it's funny. It would be a fascinating experiment in some alternate universe. Have absolutely no discrimination laws, quite frankly, at all. And that's kind of funny. It would work now. I don't think it would go so well in maybe the 1950s or the 1850s. But if word got out that a business just wasn't hiring Hispanics, or just wouldn't advance women, or just would not hire blacks, or had a thing about Jews or something, that would get out and they'd be pilloried. They'd be absolutely filleted in the marketplace. And the system would kind of work. Now, is there any reason to even intellectually entertain that or to even fantasize about that? I tell you what it would do is it would prevent quotas, would have prevented affirmative action, would have prevented all the various ways in which of the identity politics that are on fire everywhere. If somebody happened to be black on a college campus, they know that they're there for the same reason everybody else was, because they got the scores and had the test scores and the merit to be there. If we just hired a new Hispanic guy, it's not because we needed one; it was because he's great. And there are huge benefits to that. But no, we've decided we're going to offer these discrimination protections, and they do offer protections. But it also creates it comes at a cost. It comes at a cost. They got a bunch of calls. Let me do a couple of calls. I've got a thought or two about that as well. Telephone number again is 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-SAGE. And we are in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Richard, hey, Mark Davison for Larry. How are you?
I'm really good, Mark. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
So I really appreciate Larry's show. It's great that you're guest hosting. I wish Larry all of the best. I'm really excited to possibly see this movie, Uncle Tom. And so I have a question. And my question is, just from the last caller, what about discrimination on college football teams? There's no guarantee that you're going to get as many white players as you are black players on most college football teams.
Right. It's a judgment call you get to make. It's funny because athletics is a fascinating experiment because you don't have quotas in athletics. You make the team if you're good. Everybody wants to be good. They got the best players, and that's it. It's more of a pure marketplace. Nobody ever says, We need another, black wide receiver. We need a Hispanic tight end. Nobody messes with that. It is merit based, as life should, as it should be. Alrighty, we are in Houston. Sean, hey, Mark Davis in for Larry Elder. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. I hope you're having a good evening.
Wonderful. You bet.
I just wanted to ask you if you saw that story about the Chick-fil-A CEO, Dan Cathy, telling white people that we need to repent for our racism.
I did. I did.
Yeah, that is, the man, he had his comments about the not supporting same-sex unions, and the gay community went after him, and then the public in general went out and helped support their business and had huge crowds out buying food for like weeks. It was amazing. And then San Antonio, they tried to kick him out of the airport for that same comment that he made. Luckily, that all worked out in his favor. But then he turns around and panders to the LGBT, gay, whatever all the acronym is for the community, kicks us in the teeth, or at least me. I feel like he kicked me in the teeth. And then now he panders to the BLM and the Antifa groups.
Yeah, let me share what he said. A lot of
the
folks
ones that should repent for our racism. When
a lot of folks. Go ahead. Yeah, a lot of folks may not know.
I don't know if the public in general have heard that news.
So they will now. Let me bring them that story. I'll bring them that story right now because I'm glad you brought it up because I saw this and I thought, okay, I want to give somebody whom I really love and respect. Well, first of all, I want to give everybody benefit of the doubt, even people I disagree with and who annoy me. I want to give them benefit of the doubt, listen to them, see what they got to say, and evaluate it at face value. Dan Cathy is awesome. Love him. Chick-fil-A CEO. Love it. So he's in Atlanta. It was in a 70-minute roundtable discussion. It was on Sunday at Passion City Church. And, Mr. Brooks had been, dead for 48 hours. And let me share from one of the stories about it, and we will evaluate. White Christians should repent for racism and fight for their black brothers and sisters, Chick-fil-A CEO Dan Cathy urged after weeks of protest over police brutality and the death of Rayshard Brooks. He spoke about racism in America during that roundtable at Passion City Church in Atlanta. Quote, most of us, white people, we're out of sight, out of mind, oblivious to it. We cannot let this moment pass. First pause. If this is Mr. Cathy calling on people through their godly behavior to be on watch for racism, on guard for it, fight it when we find it, and stand with our brothers and sisters of all colors, he is 100% right. 100% right. But that doesn't seem to be all he's saying. Most of us, white people, are out of sight, out of mind, oblivious to it? What? Now, is there still racism? Yes. Are there people who, think it doesn't much exist? Yes, they're wrong. It does exist. Is it pervasive? Are we a racist country? No. And Dan Cathy's comments come close to saying that. That's problematic. And I'll explore more in just a moment with more of your calls. Mark Davis in for Larry Elder. Stick around.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Is it of importance to us in interpreting the events of the last 2+ weeks that we are seeing all of this happen predominantly in hardcore Democrat-run cities, Gianna?
You know what's interesting about that is that Democrats won't even take credit for the fact that a lot of their policies have caused this to happen. You think about somebody like Joe Biden who goes into George Floyd funeral with a video message talking about racial reconciliation and healing. Meanwhile, he's a big part of the reason why we have so much division in this country today. You think about the 94 crime bill. If we're going to talk about liberal cities, you can't forget about my hometown of Chicago, where you got a mayor there who provided, or rather asked for, 375 National Guardsmen in the city of Chicago and put them all in the downtown area. Meanwhile, the poor black areas on the south side and west sides are left to fend for themselves. You're talking about minority-owned businesses ruined, which they don't have money to come back. Some of these folks don't even have insurance. And that's across all American spectrums, whether you be white, black, or indifferent. We just lived through COVID. And now you got these liberals whose policies have created a huge mess from a financial tax purpose, a tax basis. And now you're disenfranchising poor people more by way of your policies, even through protests and looting. This is unimaginable. Who would have thought that this is where we would be in 2020? But if anybody is really listening and watching what's going on, this should be the best reason not to vote for liberals in any capacity. That's any office, whether it be president, Senate, House, state Senate, state House, mayor, any office. You shouldn't be voting for Democrats. And that's what I've taken away from this time.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
The mayor of New York announced back in May that the city would hire 1,000 contact tracers. They make about $60,000 a year, and they go around and make sure that they keep track of the spread of the disease. If somebody has contracted the virus, where did they go? Where have they been? Well, apparently the mayor's office has instructed these contract tracers not to ask whether anyone who has tested positive for the disease recently attended a demonstration. That's right. They are literally saying that instead they'll ask COVID positive individuals general questions to help them recall contacts, but no person, according to the mayor's spokesman, Avery Cohen, no person will be asked proactively if they attended a protest. Boy, I bet you they'll be asking a bunch of Trump supporters if they go to Tulsa where they've been, huh? Insanity. Insanity. All of it has been insane.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
The 5-minute campaign strategy as of today, would it be spend all your time, resources, energy, and policy on PA and Wisconsin?
Well, it's not going to be that simple because the Democrats are going to be attempting to, go after Arizona. They've signaled that if they win Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Arizona, Biden's president.
All across America, The Larry Elder Show.
That's it. From each coast to the Ozark Mountains. Little Ozark Mountain Daredevils. Little Jackie Blue, 1974. Alrighty, so we're looking at the words of Dan Cathy, Chick-fil-A founder, and let us stipulate we love Chick-fil-A, love Dan Cathy, unless, still love him, but doggone it, man. A caller properly identifies what looks like an enormous heaping helping of pandering that came from Dan Cathy when he was at Passion City Church in Atlanta. I don't know what happens to people. Look what happened to Drew Brees. Look what happened to J.J. Watt. I don't need to turn this into Anthem Kneeling Roundtable, but I will tell you this. I'm not having it. Like the vast majority of America, I'm completely open to discussion of police reform. I'm the guy offering specific reforms. Better training, better accountability, control on police unions and the ability to get rid of cops who are problematic, maybe after that 3rd, 4th, 5th run-in with procedures rather than the 18th. I'm all about police reform, all about it. I'll tell you what I'll never be about. Disrespecting our country. Anthem kneeling will never be okay. Never. Now, I'll tell you something else that'll never be okay. Wild overgeneralization in order to curry favor with, if I was not just the mob, but when I say the mob, I don't mean a literal mob of people gathered in the street setting fire to stuff, but there's kind of a mob mentality that the white people had better atone and atone now. We're going to roll people in as much white guilt as we can. And in the NFL, it seems to be working. Drew Brees gets absolutely roasted for saying, I don't agree with anthem kneeling. 24 hours later. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, my God, I'm so sorry. What's the matter with you, man? And I would ask the same of Dan Cathy. We've already covered one thing. Quote from Dan Cathy, chairman of, and I guess he lives in Atlanta, and maybe he doesn't want his house set on fire. I don't know. Quote, most of us, white people, we are out of sight, out of mind, oblivious to it. What? Is he high? Are you crazy? Most of us are oblivious to racism. That is the dumbest thing that anyone could say. Oh, and he's not done. He's not done. He said just get ready for this. Dan Cathy said that Chick-fil-A has had, quote, about a dozen Chick-fil-A restaurants vandalized in the last week, but my plea would be for the white people, rather than point fingers at that kind of criminal effort, would be to see the level of frustration and exasperation and almost the sense of hopelessness that exists on some of those activists within the African American community. End quote. Now, this one requires a little sentence diagramming. Any advice that we empathize with the frustrations of others, understand a sense of hopelessness when expressed, all about that. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Dan Cathy wants you to think that vandalism is okay, that rioting is okay if someone is exasperated enough. And that is BS. He says he started having conversations with employees and realized even at its corporate office there were, quote, conscious and unconscious biases that made black team members feel like they weren't, quote, treated with honor, dignity, and respect. Okay, have those meetings. Fix it. All about that, too. You bet. If you're part of an organization and you got folks of color who are saying, man, I'm kind of feeling slighted here. Well, first of all, see if there's a reason for that belief, or they're just, kind of, but we see what we want to see sometimes. Deal with it. Absolutely. So this might be just a really prime example of good intentions gone horribly, horribly wrong. So here's Dan Cathy, wrapped in an enormous shroud of white guilt, trying to atone there at a black church in Atlanta. You better call out all the white people and say, most of us are racist. Guess what? No, Dan. Might as well call out all the white people to say, overlook the rioting. Everybody's upset. No, Dan. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. I hope you get clarity because, again, there are things in here that are praiseworthy. Empathy for people, police reform, conversation, dialogue, getting along. All that's great. But wow, what a shovelful of self-flagellating white guilt that is. From Dan Cathy, chairman of Chick-fil-A. And you know what? Maybe it's a function of the moment. I don't know. I don't know. Can't analyze everybody. Can't read minds. Mark Davison for Larry Elder. Your calls are next.
You're listening to the Larry Elder Show.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
That's a good question to ask a leftist friend. Do you agree with Lincoln said that America is the last best hope of mankind or of the earth? But they would say no. Typical article I have here, The Atlantic, which produces massive amounts of nonsense by intellectuals. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's become nihilistic. We are living in a failed state. The coronavirus didn't break America. It revealed what was already broken. And this guy's a staff writer, George Packer, for The Atlantic. I invite George Packer onto the show. It's useless. It's useless. They never debate. Isn't that interesting? Why don't they debate? We would go on any of their shows, any. I remember being on CNN. Don Lemon used to invite me pretty often. And everybody else disagreed with me. I didn't care. I'll go on MSNBC. But they would never come on here. And then they would never have us on there. That's the point. The self-delusion of the left that they are the world of reason. That's so amazing. We are the irrational in their eyes.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today.
Attention business owners. As America gets back to work, will customers know you're there? With little warning, the coronavirus attacked our nation and our well-being in ways we never anticipated. The tragic loss of life, unprecedented economic upheaval, and a shattered sense of security has left many individuals and businesses in shambles. While the aftershocks could be felt for months to come, they may not have to. There is hope for an extraordinary turnaround of your bottom line. But will you be prepared for America's grand reopening? All signs point to the biggest business opportunity of our lifetime, coming as early as this summer. A recent survey of local advertisers shows a 10-point jump in the number of local advertisers who plan to maintain or increase their spending. 1 in 4 businesses expect to spend more in advertising by the end of June, and more than half expect to restart or surge their spending by this summer. As the numbers forecast increased spending from advertisers across the country, will your message be seen and heard? Will your business benefit from the pent-up consumer demand? Salem Surround is prepared to help you deliver the right advertising message to reach all potential customers wherever they are. Your business can be ready for a post-COVID-19 economy, but the time to act is now. Be at the front of the line as our economy begins to fire on all cylinders once again. For a free assessment of your marketing message and strategy, visit salemsurround.com or contact your local media strategist today.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
This is the state of play. And what is the response from the left? Mr. Mayor, please listen to Governor Jay Inslee of Washington State, where some of the worst violence is occurring, on his responsibility or lack thereof to the people of his state.
Thing called the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. What's your thought on that? The fact that the protesters have taken that over and not allowing people to come and go freely? Regarding the National Guard.
Well, that's news to me, so I'll have to reserve any comment about it. I have not heard anything about that from any.
Welcome back to the Larry Elder Show.
The late, great Phil Lynott out front of Thin Lizzy. Mark Davis in for Larry. Larry is out doing out on the promotional hustings, out on the campaign trail for a movie that he's a vital and enormous part of, called Uncle Tom, an oral history of black conservatism. Just hearing about it makes you want to see it. Guess what? You can. And not only do you not have to go to a theater, you can't. So it's available on your laptop tomorrow at uncletom.com. Go there now. There's the trailer. You can see what's going on. Larry's in there. Alan West is in there. And Alan West is a friend of mine. Let me tell you, his healing from that motorcycle crash a few weeks ago is a miracle to behold. He's an amazing, amazing man. Herman Cain is in there. Candace Owens is in there. So Uncle Tom, an oral history of black conservatism. Here it comes. It's a force of nature. Go to uncletom.com and get the trailer and some merchandise, some cool stuff now. And the movie its own self will be there tomorrow. All right. Phone number for the Larry Elder Show, as always, is 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-SAGE. Got some audio I'll get to here in a minute if we get through a rack of calls. A gentleman named Steve Gaynor was on with Martha McCallum. He's with the Georgia State Fraternal Order of Police, talking about the blue flu, the sick out. I totally understand. There's kind of an oath that officers take to show up. I don't think the sick out's a good look. And I say that is the most back the blue show you'll ever find. Maybe it's kind of a one-day statement. I hope it is. I totally understand how any cop could say, you know what, let it burn. You want life without law enforcement? I'll show you what it's like. So I believe you me, I completely empathize. But from this to in mask news, Gavin Newsom out in California, was talking about how here in Texas, we're going to be allowed to have local jurisdictions, counties in our state will be able to force businesses to force people to wear masks. Get it? It's not forcing people to wear masks. That would be in violation of Governor Greg Abbott's June 3rd executive order. But the state can force a business to force its customers to wear a mask. Some people view that as a distinction without a difference. But at least it ain't California yet, where Governor Gavin Newsom has said, guess what? Everybody's wearing masks. And talk about things that are not a good look. The law coming, raining down, people getting clocked for non-mask wearing. I wonder what the effect of those optics will be. All righty. We are in San Francisco. Patrick, Mark Davis and Larry Elder. How are you, sir?
Mark, I'm good, man. I got two things for you. First of all,
sure.
Do you think the Democrats at some point are going to call these looters undocumented shoppers?
That's a good week-old joke, sir. I'll take it. I will take it.
And,
good.
And second thing for you, a real question here is do you think? Because Larry always talk about there's no systematic racism. I found one. It's called affirmative action. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, systemic means woven into the system, not just individual people showing racism from time to time, but something woven into the system. The only thing I can find in American law that absolutely says American law must discriminate against people on because of race is affirmative action. Yes, sir. Now, it's funny because words have meaning. I always refer to myself as the words have meaning talk show guy. Systemic means systemic. And if I say there's no systemic racism, it doesn't mean there's no racism. Sure. Well, is there the occasional racist cop? Yes. Is there the occasional racist talk show host? Sure. The occasional racist, burger flipper? Absolutely. The occasional racist accountant? Yes. This underbelly of human nature has not been purged from our midst and probably never fully will. But systemic means systemic. And the reason it means that there's something in policing, written or unwritten, that says, go find the black people and kill them. Or, even if there's something real, like DWB, driving while black, right? Everybody knows this. Black folks totally know this. If you're African-American driving around in a Lexus, you're going to get pulled over, maybe a little more than I would be, because somebody's going to think at some point, he must have stolen that. Now, is that racist? Yes. Does it happen? Yes. Is it systemic? No. Is it pervasive? What's the definition of that? Happens probably more than I know. Less than some people would like to believe, but systemic means systemic. Systemic means there's it's in the manual somewhere. Make sure you pull over the black people if the car's worth over $40,000. Or kind of an unwritten thing like, Bill, you realize we expect you to pull over the black people. It is not systemic. Now, so why do people say it is? Because the left needs us to have systemic racism so that only they can fix it, so that only Joe Biden can ride in and repair it, so that only the Democratic Party can heal us. Oh, what a great job of healing they've done over the years. Systemic racism is part of hating on America, that we are a racist, wicked country. The left needs to spread that narrative as well, and it is a big, big part of it. We are in San Antonio. Vincent, Mark Davis and Larry Elder, how you doing?
Hey, great. Doing well, Mr. Davis. And I wanted to tell you one thing right now. Based on all the information I have heard about the taser incident anyway, and the way the law is read, if we think we're having problems right now, my concern is when the jury comes back and says that the police officer is innocent of all charges, or maybe pleased to a lesser degree, I tell you what, we're going to be in for some really rough times.
Yeah, if they've overcharged the officer, and it's tempting. Well, it's pardon me for being vivid, but Atlanta may burn again like Gone with the Wind when the mob does not get the verdict. Now, here's the funny thing: we could have had rioting this week if they didn't charge him with felony murder. Now they've charged him with felony murder, which is not going to happen. He will not be convicted of that. And if he walks, you can either have your rioting now or you can have it later. That's when the mob has control. You can have rioting today. You can have rioting in a year. So, and I don't know if that's part of the psychology, if that's part of street justice. We need to quell the mob. So we better charge this guy with felony murder. Yeah, but it's not going to stick. I don't care. We got to quell the mob. We'll deal with that later. Well, deal with it they will when they realize that he has been ridiculously overcharged. All righty, Mark Davis in for Larry. Follow me on Twitter at Mark Davis, M-A-R-K Davis. Telephone number is 888-971-SAGE, and we'll have more of you next.
All across America, The Larry Elder Show.
Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
Hey, folks, welcome back. I'm talking to Charlie Kirk. Charlie, one of the most disturbing things I've seen recently is some of these activists who are clearly bullies. I mean, there's a violence. You can feel it, that they're very angry and they're approaching strangers on the street and demanding that these strangers take a knee or that the cops take a knee. And I just think I've never seen anything so ugly that cops are being yelled at to take a knee. I mean, they should say, well, I'll take a knee if you take a knee for Jesus Christ. You go first.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal point, and I'm going to use it, which is, these are people that won't kneel for God, but they'll kneel because of some sort of pre-described class guilt. And so this is a really important point, Eric, which is this whole idea of white privilege is a racist and sinister lie that is taught to our kids from a very, very young age. And I find the whole idea morally reprehensible, that your identity, your skin color, that's not even your identity, by the way, that's just your appearance. Let's just make that very clear. That identity actually can mean a lot more. It could be your thoughts, your feelings, your worldview. And actually what has made the West so different, which was an idea that Jesus talked about, and people don't recognize this, is that equality under the law was nowhere to be seen. I mean, the Roman Republic paled in comparison to the Christian ethic. When Christ said, no, you're all equal under the eyes of God. We just forget and we just throw that all out in our society. That's why Trump holding up that Bible was so significant.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. America has been doing some soul searching lately. Perhaps you noticed. We're examining what's right with America and what can be made better. No other country does this kind of introspection better than us. Some of what we've found we don't like and will change. Every life has the right to be treated with dignity and respect. That includes our law enforcement as well as every skin color. We've been through this before in America, and we always came out stronger. We will this time too. Our hosts will make sure of that. We are the answer. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Here's the former vice president asserting that the sitting president is going to attempt to steal the election on November 3rd. This is what he said.
It's my greatest concern, my single greatest concern. This president's going to try to steal this election. This is the guy who said that all mail-in ballots are fraudulent, direct voting by mail, while he sits behind the desk in the Oval Office and writes his mail-in ballot to vote in the primary.
That's his biggest fear, is that Donald Trump will steal the election. So here we go again with, it was Russia, right? Russia interfered with the election in 2016. Russia got Trump elected, according to the narrative that resulted in an investigation, which led to a complete...
the great Dr. John passed away last year. I was in the right place, but it must have been the wrong time. Dr. John's easy to do. Just there you go, see? Oh, what a record. Well, I tell you what, not to be too glib about this, but let's talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Wrong place at the wrong time is drunk in your car at a drive-thru. Then if you are rousted from that reverie by the Atlanta police, the next wrong, well, it's not really wrong. Then you are where you are. The wrong time to get aggressive and violent is when they are attempting to justly and properly arrest you for operating a vehicle while drunk. And then if you want to compound your problems, grab an officer's taser, run away, turn around. Because if you do these things in that kind of succession, you could get shot. Now, does that mean the shooting is 100% justifiable? I don't know. Some people say it is, and I think that's plausible. There's a little competing voice in my head that says, shooting somebody in the back is tricky. But I'll tell you what, the only reason he wasn't shot in the front is the bullet didn't hit him as he was firing the taser back at the officer. So in just those 30 seconds, I've just showed you ways in which there's a lot of conflict here. The kind of thing that maybe a thoughtful and responsible indictment might contain, an indictment for something, not felony murder. It's something a jury will consider. This is what juries properly do. But in the era of the mob, the jury comes back in a millisecond, and this cop's got to be hit with felony murder, and that's not helpful. It's just not helpful. Cool heads looking at facts and evidence, that's helpful. And is that era just lost forever? I hope not. We're in Greenville, South Carolina. Bonnie, Mark Davison for Larry. How you doing? Hey, Bonnie. Oh, okay, click. I guess you knew I was running short on time. You know what? And since I am, let me just give you a couple of plugs and get on out of here for this hour. And everybody that's on hold, I'll get right to you. And we'll get to the Georgia State Fraternal Order of Police guy talking about the Atlanta police sick outer. We're going to do that again tonight. And we'll take a look at a bunch of things. Follow me on Twitter at Mark Davis. That's who I am, filling in for Larry. Appreciate it. If you want me in book form, go to Amazon, get Upside Down. How the leftists turn right into wrong, truth into lies, good into bad. That's a lot of subtitle. Just do Mark Davis Upside Down. It's kind of a handy toolbox for fighting the left. Mark Davis Upside Down on Amazon. Get it, enjoy it, let me know about it. And then call me and we'll talk about stuff next hour. One more hour filling in for Larry Elder. I'm Mark Davis in DFW. Be right back.
Larry posts new excerpts of the show on YouTube every day. Just go to youtube.com/The Larry Elder Show Radio and click on the subscribe button.
This is Owen Strand for townhall.com. A call is going out now for the dismantling of the Minneapolis Police Department. The president of the city council said this when asked about what to do in the case of a break-in.
Yes, I mean, I hear that loud and clear from a lot of my neighbors. And I know, and myself too, and I know that comes from a place of privilege, because for those of us for whom the system is working, I think we need to step back and imagine what it would feel like to already live in that reality, where calling the police may mean more harm is done.
There's no doubt that our cities and communities need restoration, including greater peaceful engagement between police and citizens. Yet the idea that wanting protection is privilege is not sound. In fact, it's absurd and won't restore anything. Police who act unjustly are accountable to the rule of law and must be. But there is no need to qualify what a society without police will look like. More harm will surely be done. May coming days bring greater safety and meaningful restoration. I'm Owen Strand.
ADF, fighting for those whose religious freedom is being violated.
Attention business owners. As America gets back to work, will customers know you're there? With little warning, the coronavirus attacked our nation and our well-being in ways we never anticipated. The tragic loss of life, unprecedented economic upheaval, and a shattered sense of security has left many individuals and businesses in shambles. While the aftershocks could be felt for months to come, they may not have to. There is hope for an extraordinary turnaround of your bottom line. But will you be prepared for America's grand reopening? All signs point to the biggest business opportunity of our lifetime, coming as early as this summer. A recent survey of local advertisers shows a 10-point jump in the number of local advertisers who plan to maintain or increase their spending. 1 in 4 businesses expect to spend more in advertising by the end of June, and more than half expect to restart or surge their spending by this summer. As the numbers forecast increased spending from advertisers across the country, will your message be seen and heard? Will your business benefit from the pent-up consumer demand? Salem Surround is prepared to help you deliver the right advertising message to reach all potential customers wherever they are. Your business can be ready for a post-COVID-19 economy, but the time to act is now. Be at the front of the line as our economy begins to fire on all cylinders once again. For a free assessment of your marketing message and strategy, visit salemsurround.com or contact your local media strategist today.
Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Joined by an old friend, Ralph Reed is the chairman and CEO of Century Strategies. He's been working as an advisor to presidents for as long as I've been behind this microphone. He's an old friend, but he has a new book, For God and Country, The Christian Case for Trump. Welcome back. Good to talk to you, friend.
Thanks so much, Hugh. A big fan, regular listener of the show. Great to be with you.
I got to say, Appendix 1. When I'm done with God and Country, I'm just going to tear out Appendix 1 because it's my show every day between now and November. Would you explain to people what you did for everybody?
What we did, Hugh, was we put together a roughly 30-page appendix of all of the incredible accomplishments and achievements of President Trump in just the first 3 years of his first term. And, it's not just on the issues that are dear to many Christians of life and religious freedom and originalists and constitutionalists on the courts and Israel, but it's really all the issues, including jobs and the economy and the budget and so forth. And it's updated regularly, by the way, on the Faith and Freedom website. So the reason why it was important for me to put that in there, Hugh, is because in 2016, when Trump promised us he would do these things, Christians were told that we were gullible for believing him. And we've now been vindicated for, on faith, let's be honest, we weren't sure he'd deliver. He'd never held an elective office. He didn't have a record as an elected official. But we didn't have much of a choice because behind door number 2 was Hillary.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Dennis Prager Show.
What is the current state of allowance for church attendance?
It's remarkable in different areas of the country. You have certain states who are abiding by the Constitution and deciding on a neutral basis if we're letting people to congregate, whether they're secular or religious, will do it in an even-handed fashion. But there are several states, like Nevada, that have chosen to treat churches and religious organizations worse. So you can go to a casino with hundreds or thousands of your best friends, but you can't go to church with 50 other people.
How do they answer that question?
Yeah, basically there's a couple problems. So people are familiar with these executive orders all over the country. They start by deciding on an ad hoc basis what's essential and what's not essential. And rather than putting church and spiritual things and worship in the essential category, they put it in the non-essential category, and so then they justify it by it's not a necessity for people. And I think that's something the government shouldn't be doing.
So in effect, at least in California, I would imagine, churches are on a par with nail salons. Sometimes nail salons are treated better than churches, and that's another thing that's remarkable. If you look at the way they categorize different types of uses, it seems like churches are always on the bottom end of the list, and so they'll reopen, as people know, they've done in phases. Well, they'll decide that, for example, we've had several cases where they're open bars before they're open churches, or nail salons, or, as I mentioned, casinos, or things like that. And so the way, I'm not sure how they get to the conclusion about what's necessary or not, but they're certainly putting religious worship.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Eric Metaxas Show.
For folks like you and me, this was a moment ago, especially for you. You lived through this. You were an adult. This was your friend. This was a student. And the parallels with what are happening in this country today are so striking I mean, we could have talked about this book just because it's the 50th anniversary and it's a good book and it's interesting and, you and I have met. But I mean, the parallels to what is happening right now in this country are just crazy similar. And so I do want to talk about that. Now, look, there's a lot of young people listening to this program who don't have a clue what was going on around that time. So frame it for us. In this novel, Hippies, which is based on real life events, obviously, you just told us 2 of your friends were killed. Students were killed. I mean, I still can't get my head around this.
All right. It was.
Spreading the love. The sagebrush, the tumbling tumbleweed of talk radio from the hot streets of Dallas-Fort Worth. Mark Davis, where I host the morning show on 660 AM The Answer here in the big DFW. It is so great to be here with for the Larry Elder Show whenever the phone rings. And it did this time because Larry is doing a long weekend of promotion of something you are going to want to consume. Are you ready to see Uncle Tom? Yes, indeedy. They sat around and said, we're making a movie that is an oral history of black conservatism. What's a catchy title? They came up with one. Uncle Tom and other things are used as an epithet to bludgeon African Americans who dare to stray from liberal groupthink. Larry's heard that a few times in his life. So is Alan West. So is Candace Owens. So I guess Aunt Tom. Oh, well, speaking of, we'll get to Aunt Jemima in a minute. As they purge everything, culture, statues, food. Herman Cain, whom I leave it at, Alan West, have I mentioned? All these people are in the Uncle Tom movie. It's awesome. It is great. I've seen it. It's wonderful. Oral history of black conservatism. And it's funny. Let me break it into 4 groups. Who ought to see Uncle Tom? Answer is everybody. Go to UncleTom.com. Previews now. Full movie ready to go tomorrow. Should black conservatives see Uncle Tom? Absolutely. It's an enormous thank you for the path they have walked. Should white conservatives see Uncle Tom? Absolutely. To just continue to foster appreciation for our brothers and sisters of color who share our ideology. Should white liberals see Uncle Tom? Oh, my, yes. So they can maybe get a clue that the Democrat Party it absolutely is not the be-all and end-all of the best interest of black people or any people. And should black liberals see Uncle Tom? Oh, my, yes. And usually when you talk about these movies that we're trying to get people to see, you got to drag somebody to a theater. Well, I scarcely remember theaters anymore. Everything's on my laptop now. Now just send somebody a link and, pay for it for them. Whatever. So that the word of Uncle Tom can get out, which is the history of black conservatism. It is as proud and inspiring a story as there is to be found in the American fabric. And Larry Elder's a part producer of this. He is in it, a key part of it. And Justin Malone's the director. He's done a great job, and the people in it are fantastic. You're just going to love it. Your weekend movie pick is Uncle Tom. Go to UncleTom.com. Previews now. Full movie tomorrow. Enjoy your weekend. Alrighty, before we get to the weekend, before we even get to Friday, here we are on the Thursday Larry Elder Show. Phone number is 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-SAGE. As I get ready to go back to calls, let me give you an example of, because I've been blistering the Supreme Court, because it deserves it, for 2 dreadful rulings, not because I disagree with them, not because of my politics, but because they put feelings ahead of law. How many times have you heard today, the DACA ruling from the Supreme Court, that 5-4 ruling with John Roberts again siding with the liberals on the court? Oh, it's a huge victory for the DACA kids. It's a huge loss for the Trump administration. These, and I know the net effect is to operate in somebody's favor and to somebody's detriment, but that's the problem. This DACA ruling is a defeat for the rule of law. The ruling a couple of days ago that had to do with gay rights and trans rights as part of Title VII in the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Oh, it was a big win for gay folks and gay rights and trans rights. What rulings are not supposed to be a win for people. It's supposed to stand up for law. And what happens to, and pardon the way this sounds, but what happens to people happens. Every ruling will either benefit some folks and inflame others. It will operate to the detriment of some and to the joy of other people. What matters is not who's happy and who's not. What matters is, has the law been honored? And in that gay and trans rights Title VII thing, it was a travesty. Because Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination based on race, national origin, religion, sex, meaning what sex you are, your gender, birth. Remember that concept? In no way does it contain, in no way did people, you think in 1964, they sat around and said, well, I'll tell you what, we got to make sure this addresses homosexuality. Oh, wait a minute, Bill. We also need to make sure it addresses men who wake up and think they're women. Oh, yeah, that's just in there. They'll understand that that's in there. If they'd have wanted it in there, they'd have put it in there. Discrimination on the basis of sex means discrimination on the basis of sex, not which sex you're attracted to, or not which sex you think you are, contrary to your chromosomes. This was a travesty. To have John Roberts participate in it, sadly, is maybe something we got to get used to. Is he David Souter 2.0? To have Neil Gorsuch participate in this foolishness was mightily disappointing. Now today, the DACA ruling, Obama made up DACA, pulled it right out of some presidential orifice and said, tell you what I'm going to do. Don't need Congress. I'm going to change immigration law. Boom, done. And Trump was trying to undo that and using arcane procedural gobbledygook. There's Chief Justice Roberts again, siding with Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, Notorious RBG. He's kind of a cute nickname. Stephen Breyer. And in the Sonia Sotomayor opinion that she wrote, it was like she made reference to some of the comments that Trump had made that seemed, that weren't, but in which he talked about illegal immigrants in some really unflattering ways, and that was somehow evidence of racial animus. Trump has not one scintilla of racial animus. He has behavioral animus. Try to break into the country and he doesn't like you. Period. And here's Sonia Sotomayor, a Supreme Court justice, who's writing garbage like this based on her feelings and her mind reading and identity politics. We are screwed if this stuff is allowed to prevail. So I'll tell you, this is why we need the Trump term. He may need 2. So he may need, we thought, well, we got 5-4 now, sort of kind of with Kavanaugh. Apparently not. God bless Kavanaugh. God bless Samuel Alito. And for decades now, God in heaven bless Clarence Thomas. Because we got the 4 liberals, Breyer, Kagan, Sotomayor, Ginsburg, and we have the increasingly unreliable John Roberts, and now all of a sudden the wobbly Neil Gorsuch. So look, I want everybody to live to be 150 years old, and Breyer is getting up there. Ruth Bader Ginsburg's really getting up there and has a lot of health issues. I want her to be healthy and live to be 125. I'd like for her to retire tomorrow. Get with Anthony Kennedy and talk about how swell retirement is. I want her to live a long and happy and prosperous life. Anyone loved by Antonin Scalia cannot be all bad. And so for Justice Ginsburg, I wish her longevity, prosperity, happiness, and joy. I just want her off the court where she can stop screwing up my country. So if I can be permitted that, let me know. All righty. 888-971-SAGE. We are in Dallas, D.C. Mark Davis, hi. In for Larry Elder. Oh, hang on a second. Oh, did I hit the wrong line? Operator error. Pull up. Connie Moses. What am I doing? There we go. All right. There we go. Operator blindness. Hey, D.C. Mark Davis, in for Larry. How you doing?
Mr. Davis.
How you doing?
Can you hear me?
I can. Yes, I can. Sure can.
Okay, good. Well, earlier you said words mean something. Mm-hmm. I had a problem with you. You said something a while back. It was a Box Spring police shooting. And Box Spring is a suburb of Dallas.
Oh, right. And
mm-hmm, it was, I'm sorry?
I remember, you bet. Mm-hmm.
Okay. 15-year-old young man was killed. A cop just started firing off.
Right.
Once they were driving off. And it was negativity was beginning to spread that there were drugs at the party, there was alcohol.
Right.
And the Dallas Morning News investigated and said there was no alcohol, there was no drugs.
Right.
You made a statement that it was, if that was the case, fine, but it was still bad parenting.
Correct.
What did you mean by that?
I meant that, first of all, this was the case of a Balch Springs officer named Roy Oliver, and my advice to everybody was, don't have your kids at a party at 1 o'clock in the morning. That's bad parenting if your kids are at a party at that time, and I stand by that for the rest of my life. Yep. That doesn't make it okay for them to be shot or anything like that, but just, and you know what? Big time advice. Don't run from the police. Don't shoot tasers at them. Don't have your kids at a party at 2 in the morning. Just be smart. Be right back.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Exclusive from General Flynn. This is at westernjournal.com. Freedom is oxygen, like the air we breathe that keeps our lungs full and our hearts beating. The celestial feeling of freedom brings a sense of peace to our souls. Freedom must never be taken for granted. Securing our freedom demands a high price. And that price requires hard work and sacrifice. Both will bind us all by the value they produce, but only if we are willing to seek new opportunities and new ideas. Those who have sacrificed the most, those who have given the last true measure of devotion that derives from the love of faith, family, and the cause of freedom, for all of us to be free and for the betterment of our republic and the free world, cannot be allowed to have died in vain. Theirs is the ultimate sacrifice, and heaven is their reward. Our future, the future of our children and grandchildren, and the future of our country are at stake. God will not give way to the care of the devil or allow us to be left to the evil vices of those who would steal our freedom in the dark of night. He will not. Instead, God will stand with us as he always does. Hard work and personal sacrifice still very much matter. Being a good person and showing kindness to others still matter. Is that General Mike Flynn, my friend? Or is it Pastor Flynn? Wow.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
What happens if there's a criminal out there with a gun and starts shooting people? Who's going to respond if there's no police force?
Look, it is our top priority to keep every single member of our community safe. And if you look back at the last 150 years of our police department, it is becoming increasingly clear that that model of policing isn't working. So we need to invite in our whole community, the 9 members of the city council that came from every corner of our city to stand together to make this commitment. We don't have all the answers. And what we committed to was a community process to help reimagine public safety.
Stop for a second. This is just babble. This is just incoherent babble. I have been to Minnesota and to Minneapolis scores of times. It's just nuts. I don't know how Minneapolis elected a nutty city council that made this nutty person their city council president. But the idea that after 150 years, the Minnesota Police Department has to be defunded, that's nuts. This is the Democratic Party. This is Lisa Bender, Democrat, Minnesota Democrat Farm Labor Party, cut number 18.
Do you understand that the word dismantle or police free also makes some people nervous? For instance, what if in the middle of the night, my home is broken into? Who do I call?
Yes, I mean, I hear that loud and clear from a lot of my neighbors. And I know, and myself too, and I know that that comes from a place of privilege, because for those of us for whom the system is working, I think we need to step back and imagine what it would feel like to already live in that reality where calling the police may
Stop.
mean...
It's insane. The Democratic Party is insane.
Keep up.
New Jersey's own Smithereens, Pat Denizio out front. The late Pat Denizio passed away 2017. Love me some Smithereens. That 11 album, so good, so good, so good, so good. Girl Like You. All right, girls like you, guys like you. Glad you're listening to a show like this from a guy like that, Larry Elder. Mark Davis in for Larry from 660 AM. The Answer in DFW. Follow me on Twitter at Mark Davis. Okay, having blistered some judges who have lost the concept of following the law, following their feelings instead of the law, I want to show some love in the state of Virginia to Judge Bradley Quevedo. This is the judge who has stopped the mob or stop the governor, who is bending to the mob, from tearing down the statue of Robert E. Lee on Monument Avenue. Now, if going through the system and if it's the will of the people of Virginia that statue ought to come down, okay. I'm a big believer in keeping a hold of history and drive by it and go, wow, well, there's that Confederacy thing. How'd that work out? You know, Lee loved his state of Virginia. Loved his Confederate States of America, loved the United States of America until he thought things kind of went wrong. Slavery was part of it, big part of it. I love when people go, Civil War wasn't fought over slavery. Well, it was if you were a slave. So I hear you, I hear you, I hear you. But if we're going to be tearing down monuments, it needs to be through the system. And Judge Bradley Quevedo, and it's not the property of the governor. Quote from Judge Bradley Quevedo, the state seems to think that the monument is the property of the governor. So he has I think it's an indefinite restraining order keeping him from tearing down the statue because that's what the mob wants. So I mentioned Aunt Jemima because I've spent a lot of time these last few days, so have we all, making a list of things that seem okay and things that don't. Leave Gone with the Wind alone. Leave Live PD alone. I mean, the A&E flat out canceled it because they thought it's a bad look to have cops, just a show featuring cops doing good things. How perverse is that? Now, then we get to things that folks are trying to eradicate. Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben, Mrs. Butterworth. I did not, in fact, know Mrs. Butterworth was black. I just thought she was portly. Anyway, I digress. So, on a couple of occasions, I said, look, okay, I get it. Aunt Jemima has that sort of kind of look, and it's kind of another time, and I'm okay, I get it. But you know what? Then I did something really crazy. I sort of looked into this. Who is that woman? The image of Aunt Jemima was based on a real person named Nancy Green. Nancy Green was an incredible person. She was born in 1834. She was an adult during the Civil War. She was born into slavery in Montgomery County, Kentucky, and emancipated, as tomorrow the Juneteenth observance will properly recognize. I assume the word got to her a little quicker than it did here in Texas. That's what Juneteenth is. June 19th, 1865. They're nearly 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation that it took for the news to get down here. Didn't exactly have Wi-Fi at that time. But anyway, Nancy Green made some money off of this, and good for her. She was sort of an entrepreneur of the time, and she was empowered. She did church organizing, the Olivet Baptist Church. Her career allowed her the financial freedom to become an activist and engage in anti-poverty programs. So yeah, the Aunt Jemima bottle kind of looks like something, well, let's just stick that on there because, minstrel show appeal. But that's Nancy Green, and she deserves to be celebrated and not purged. So, just the lesson here is just be careful what you do. And as a famous Dennis Prager book, think a second time. So anyway, listen, think a second, third, and fourth time about MyPillow. Mike Lindell wants you to think about some specials. He's got great discounts on all the MyPillow products. Right now, got 2 for $1. Buy one, get one free on the Supima MyPillows, Giza Dream Sheets, MyPillow towels, roll and go anywhere pillows, duvet covers, Giza pillowcases, bolster pillows, neck pillows. And if you buy Mike Lindell's book called What Are the Odds? From Crack Addict to CEO, you get free shipping and a $25 gift card. Go to MyPillow.com, promo code Larry, or 1-800-890-1843. Promo code Larry, MyPillow.com, promo code Larry. You know what they've devoted part of the factory to now? Making pillows, making duvet covers, making stuff, making towels, also making face masks. As the country continues to deal with the pandemic, it's the kind of guy Mike Lindell is, the kind of company MyPillow is. MyPillow.com, promo code Larry. Okay, we are heading back to your calls, and 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-SAGE. We're in Illinois. Brian, Mark Davison for Larry. How you doing?
Oh, great, Mr. Larry Elder. I enjoy your program. I enjoy your time with Hannity at night and also Leo Terrell.
Well,
I think he's the light now, don't you think?
So that there's no confusion, and I love you so much, and I love Larry so much. I am not, in fact, Larry. I'm a happy fill-in guy, Mark Davis, but Larry appreciates you. I appreciate you. No, it's okay. Floor is yours. Go for it. No sweat. No harm, no foul.
Okay. Hey, that sounds good. I got something to say about my brother-in-law is a cop in Chicago, and my other brother-in-law is a fireman in the city of Chicago. And my brother-in-law, who's the cop, he's despised. He's hated. He's hated by everyone. He gets bricks thrown at him. He gets spit upon. The mayor doesn't care about him. The governor doesn't care about him. The whole state doesn't care about the police. So he hasn't had a raise in 3 years. But he does his job because he loves helping and serving people and seeing if they get it right. And I'm tired of the police getting mistreated and being abused like they are in this whole country. It's time to take back and give these policemen the respect they deserve. That's
Amen, Brian. Amen. God bless you and thank you. And listen, it's possible for two things to be true at the same time. Do we have issues with policing where some folks, many of them black, have wound up on the bad end of a police interface and wound up dead? Yes. Sometimes these stories, hands up, don't shoot, is a lie. Ferguson is based on a fraud. Freddie Gray, Baltimore, street justice, lie, did not work. Walter Scott, North Charleston, South Carolina, shot by an officer running away, shot him like a dog. That one's real. You know, George Floyd, that one's real. This one, Atlanta, Mr. Brooks, that's a tough one, man. That's why thoughtful folks need to examine really hard, you know, whether that's a violation of procedure, a violation of law. I don't know. I'll tell you this, it ain't felony murder. He's going to walk on that. And then, boy, I hope they're ready with the riot gear for that, if Atlanta still has police by then. So it's possible for two things to be true at the same time. Namely, that we really need to do better on policing. And number two, we need to not have a war on police. There is a war on the cops right now. They're getting their brains blown out in New York, getting their food poisoned, getting, you know, stuff thrown at them. We can't have the country be this way. And I'll tell you something, all the conscientiousness and the vigor and toward police reform, I am empowered by it, inspired by it. We do need to do better on de-escalation, on training, on accountability, on transparency. All those things need to get better. We need to be, that's a reckoning, long time in coming. Can we also have some energy left over to stop and fight back against the war on police? Can we do both of those? Can we walk and chew gum at the same time? Mark Davison for Larry Elder. Be right back.
Share excerpts of today's show from Larry Elder's YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com.
This is Owen Strand for townhall.com. A call is going out now for the dismantling of the Minneapolis Police Department. The president of the city council said this when asked about what to do in the case of a break-in.
Yes, I mean, I hear that loud and clear from a lot of my neighbors. And I know, and myself too, and I know that that comes from a place of privilege, because for those of us for whom the system is working, I think we need to step back and imagine what it would feel like to already live in that reality, where calling the police may mean more harm is done.
There's no doubt that our cities and communities need restoration, including greater peaceful engagement between police and citizens. Yet the idea that wanting protection is privilege is not sound. In fact, it's absurd and won't restore anything. Police who act unjustly are accountable to the rule of law and must be. But there is no need to qualify what a society without police will look like. More harm will surely be done. May coming days bring greater safety and meaningful restoration. I'm Owen Strand.
ADF, fighting for those whose religious freedom is being violated.
Attention business owners. As America gets back to work, will customers know you're there? With little warning, the coronavirus attacked our nation and our well-being in ways we never anticipated. The tragic loss of life, unprecedented economic upheaval, and a shattered sense of security has left many individuals and businesses in shambles. While the aftershocks could be felt for months to come, they may not have to. There is hope for an extraordinary turnaround of your bottom line. But will you be prepared for America's grand reopening? All signs point to the biggest business opportunity of our lifetime, coming as early as this summer. A recent survey of local advertisers shows a 10-point jump in the number of local advertisers who plan to maintain or increase their spending. 1 in 4 businesses expect to spend more in advertising by the end of June, and more than half expect to restart or surge their spending by this summer. As the numbers forecast increased spending from advertisers across the country, will your message be seen and heard? Will your business benefit from the pent-up consumer demand? Salem Surround is prepared to help you deliver the right advertising message to reach all potential customers wherever they are. Your business can be ready for a post-COVID-19 economy, but the time to act is now. Be at the front of the line as our economy begins to fire on all cylinders once again. For a free assessment of your marketing message and strategy, visit salemsurround.com or contact your local media strategist today.
Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Joined by an old friend, Ralph Reed is the chairman and CEO of Century Strategies. He's been working as an advisor to presidents for as long as I've been behind this microphone. He's an old friend, but he has a new book, For God and Country, The Christian Case for Trump. Welcome back. Good to talk to you, friend.
Thanks so much, Hugh. A big fan, regular listener of the show. Great to be with you.
I got to say, Appendix 1. When I'm done with God and Country, I'm just going to tear out Appendix 1 because it's my show every day between now and November. Would you explain to people what you did for everybody?
What we did, Hugh, was we put together a roughly 30-page appendix of all of the incredible accomplishments and achievements of President Trump in just the first 3 years of his first term. And, it's not just on the issues that are dear to many Christians of life and religious freedom and originalists and constitutionalists on the courts and Israel, but it's really all the issues, including jobs and the economy and the budget and so forth. And it's updated regularly, by the way, on the Faith and Freedom website. So the reason why it was important for me to put that in there, Hugh, is because in 2016, when
Welcome back to the Larry Elder Show.
McCartney lead vocals of any Beatle record, Sir Paul McCartney, 78 years old today. How great is that? Who's going to be the first Beatle to turn 80? Well, there's only one left after Paul, and that's Ringo. Ringo will be 80 in July. Lennon would have been 80, I want to say, in October. Yeah, because it was, oh boy, here we go. John Lennon has been gone about as long as he was alive. He turned 40 in October of 1980 and took the bullet December 8th. My, how the anniversaries do come quickly. Alrighty, this show has gone quickly, so let's hop back to your calls. Mark Davis in for Larry Elder. Follow me on Twitter at Mark Davis. Let's go to New Orleans, shall we? Let's head down to the Delta and say hi to Aisha. Hi, Mark Davis in for Larry. How you doing?
Hey, Mark Davis. Hey, Mark Davis. How are you
How
doing?
are you? I am great. Thank you for calling.
Hey, I always enjoy listening to you, military vet here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just wanted to say, really interesting times we live in. As a person with melanin in my skin, which makes my skin brown and not black, it's interesting that people don't realize that race is a man-made concept. I'm not a different race than you, Mark Davis, because I have melanin and my skin is brown. If I lost the melanin in my skin and I developed vitiligo, you would see that my skin is just as white as yours underneath the melanin. So,
I know the human race, the only race that matters is the human race, and we all have that as an ideal, and that's what we should strive for. It's what Dr. King talked about, not the color of skin, but the content of character. There are several seamy underbellies of human nature, being afraid of, wary of, suspicious of, and mistreating otherness, other skin colors, other religions, other nationalities. That is an unfortunate part of human nature that good godly behavior and good child rearing can help reduce, but we'll probably always have some vestige of it with us. Okay. I love you. I appreciate you. Sometimes I just leave them stunned. All righty. Telephone number is 888-971-SAGE, and we are in Sunnyvale, California. Hi, Lisa. Mark Davison for Larry. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'd like to give Aisha, I think was her name, a hug. I love her.
Hey, tell me about it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
We all love Larry, but I have to tell you, my grandfather, he's so cute. He called. He said, Mark Davis is on today, and he's heard you fill in. As you said to many
thank
people.
you.
He said, and this is a high praise from him. He said, that is one smart whippersnapper.
I'm a whippersnapper. Thank you. I love it. I'll take that. That makes me feel young. I'm 62 and a whippersnapper. I love that. That is, thank him for me enormously as well.
But anyway, and I agree with him. So I love listening. You're so smart. So because you're so smart, I'm going to ask a question. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm assuming, we all are assuming, that President Trump is going to win. And
that'd be my wish.
Yes, I know. I know. Well, let's be positive. We hope he's going to win. And if he wins, I'd like positive when he wins. What is your vision? Now, we know the Democrats are going to continue with their garbage, impeachment, get his taxes, whatever they can drum up. But my concern is what's going to happen with, for instance, Black Lives Matter and Antifa, the kind of strife of taking, in the streets and the racial. How do you view? What are they going to just kind of dissipate like they did in 2016? Black Lives Matter.
I wish.
What do you think?
What a fantastic question. It's sort of a let's put our crystal balls together and see what we think. I totally expect a Trump win. There's no reason why he should lose. That's why I'm sitting here. I'm not sitting here in June predicting. That's not a good look. You never know. But please God, let him win. One of two things happens to Black Lives Matter, cancel culture, all these unseemly radicalizations. They either are sort of dispirited into brief submission, or they just go insane. They're so riled by the fact that he won that it actually gets worse. I think that's a possibility, but I think the futility of it might set in. It's not going to become calm. It's not going to become sedate, but him winning is better than him losing, because if he loses, they are energized, empowered, and rewarded. Give me 15 seconds. What do you think?
Am I still on?
Yeah, about 15 seconds. Go. Which of those you think will happen?
Absolutely. I agree with you. I think that if he wins, our country's gone. I mean, it's the most horrifying nightmare I have constantly.
So Lisa, pardon my brevity, got to scoop, but thank you so much. So let's do. Let's have him win. How about that? Go with that. Be right back.
You're listening to The Larry Elder Show.
Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
The mayor of New York announced back in May that the city would hire 1,000 contact tracers. They make about $60,000 a year, and they go around and make sure that they keep track of the spread of the disease. If somebody has contracted the virus, where did they go? Where have they been? Well, apparently the mayor's office has instructed these contract tracers not to ask whether anyone who has tested positive for the disease recently attended a demonstration. That's right. They are literally saying that instead they'll ask COVID positive individuals general questions to help them recall contacts, But no person, according to the mayor's spokesman, Avery Cohen, no person will be asked proactively if they attended a protest. Well, I bet you they'll be asking a bunch of Trump supporters if they go to Tulsa where they've been, huh? Insanity. Insanity. All of it has been insane.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
The 5-minute campaign strategy as of today, would it be spend all your time, resources, energy, and policy on PA and Wisconsin?
Well, it's not going to be that simple because the Democrats are going to be attempting to, go after Arizona. They've signaled that if they win Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Arizona, Biden's president of the United States. They're going to go after Florida because it's perennially close. They're going to have to make a decision about North Carolina. Are they going to go there? They're thinking they want to try and do Georgia, but they may not have the resources. So the problem is you can't just simply say, okay, I'm going to put all my chips on, Wisconsin and Pennsylvania because they're going to have to be playing defense in these other states. Now, the advantage that Trump has is that he's got more resources and he's got a bigger, better digital infrastructure, which will matter a lot. So, he's going to be able to play in all those states. He can play in the 3 Great Lakes states. He can play in Iowa. He can play in North Carolina. He can play in Florida. He can play in Arizona. But I'm not yet certain that the Biden campaign is going to have the resources to compete in all of those states. I mean, Florida is a $50 to $70 million proposition, and North Carolina is a $35 to $50 million proposition. So those, and we haven't talked about Ohio. Isn't that interesting how little we talk about Ohio this election?
My home state has gained its confidence under Michael DeMine. My home state is solid red. You had to worry about it in your elections, but we've got that locked up now.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
If you actually care about Black lives, you have an obligation to distance yourself from Black Lives Matter, the organization, the hashtag movement, whatever it is. I want to get that out up front. But Horace, how have you been processing this?
So our group, Project 21, was actually formed in the wake of the Rodney King riots. And several of us, I'm a founding member of the organization, but several of us were watching CNN and hearing this idea that it is the normal and legitimate way that Black Americans express their frustrations with civic life, that they run into the nearest Best Buy and grab as many DVD players as they can.
Welcome back to the Larry Elder Show.
All right. We have a winner, and it's not me. I mentioned we have the actual talk show whenever I'm here. Mark Davis filling in for Larry. We have that whole other talk show on Twitter, at Mark Davis. You can shoot me stuff back and forth there. The third talk show is actually Sean throwing me records and seeing if I can identify them. Obviously, Aretha's Chain of Fools. No idea who the cover version is there. Who would that be, my man? The Flamingo Group? That sounds like a very strange accounting firm in Miami. All right. Hey, anybody wants to, revisit Chain of Fools? They can try. Free country. We're trying to keep it a free country around here. Telephone number is 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-SAGE. We are in Wisconsin. Jan, hi. Mark Davison for Larry. Good Thursday. How are you?
I'm fine. I just want to comment. You were absolutely right about the war on police, but there also is a war on traditional family and war on Black role models, and eliminating Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima, kills two birds with one stone. It takes out a traditional role models for traditional family and black role models.
Let's spend a second because I'm intrigued by the identification of Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben. I think they took Uncle Ben, who at some point might have been like the head cook on the plantation or something, and they made him a CEO. I mean, they really upgraded his pay scale. Aunt Jemima, as I mentioned, was an actual woman named Nancy Green, modeled on her wonderful career as an entrepreneur, and they really were role models. I guess people just look at the imagery and say, does this comport with 2020 wokeness? And if not, it must go.
I grew up with Aunt Jemima syrup, and I always thought she was my aunt.
No.
I mean, I love Jemima. You know, the name. I mean, as a kid, you know, what do you know when you're a kid? Anyway,
I know. And well, listen, sometimes we're not much smarter even when we're adults. And I've asked just on my local show, and I got like 14 minutes more here. I ask black folk, you ever walk down the aisle of a grocery store and you're in the syrup department and you go and you see Aunt Jemima and just get all slump-shouldered and go, you know, woe is me? Because that's just a pernicious, terrible image. You ever, you know, over there in the carb aisle and it's time for rice and there's Uncle Ben looking at you and just go, oh my heavens. We have so many miles left to go as a country. Really? You know, there are a lot of things I get. I mean, I get the Confederate statue. I get somebody saying, you know what? Confederacy lost and those people tried to enslave my ancestors. Okay, I get it. Aunt Jemima, I don't get. You know, it's no skin off my nose if they get rid of Aunt Jemima, but this purging, this wiping of everything based on the mores of the sometimes twistedly woke mores of 2020. I just don't know if we're always well served by that. All right, okay, here's bad example. It's different, but here's sort of what I mean, and it might apply and it might not. If I mentioned my Twitter feed at Mark Davis, go look at something I put up there like yesterday. And the headline that I put on it, the thing I put was, I could watch stuff like this all day. I could watch stuff like this all day. It was a video put out in 1967. All right. And it's funny. I think it was from Britain, but yet the guy, voiceover guy doesn't have an accent. He isn't, you know, sounds like me. And it's from 1966, excuse me, 1966. It's black and white about the world of 1976, right? So, 10 years in the future. And it's about this household chore doing robot. And it just looked like it's clunky, made from the back lot of special effects from Lost in Space. It's that cheesy, right? It's Mabel, the household robot. She'll wake you up in the morning. She'll make you breakfast. She'll make you a cocktail when you come home from work. She's amazing. She vacuums. She does everything. It's Mabel, the household robot. And she just does everything in that future year, 1976. And at one point, the voiceover says, rather than having your wife slave over a hot kitchen, give her a slave of her own. What? A slave of her own? This wasn't like 1923. It was 1966. And I thought about that, and it got a lot of comments. I mean, that really didn't get a whole lot of comments. It was a 3-minute video. But I'll tell you what, that is so jarring and so weird and such a disconnect that I want to keep it. I don't want to get rid of. I want things around that show us the journey we've traveled. I want things around that show us our cultural history, our political history, our linguistic history, things that used to be okay but aren't anymore. We don't get rid of the things that aren't okay anymore. We don't forget they ever, because then it's like we've gone nowhere. We've done nothing. We've learned zero. Keep these things around. Let people react to them as they wish. And I think if you go take a look at that video, that will jump out at you. Give her a slave of her own. What? And they're just talking about that stupid robot. But they thought in 1966 that it was okay to say that. Well, words change. Standards change. Sensitivities change. And most of the time, that's good. Sometimes we lose our sense of humor. There's no way you could make Blazing Saddles again. There's probably no way you can make All in the Family again. So it's not always progress. But I think if we purge those things from the past, of course, the age-old example is all the N-bombs that are in Mark Twain's, Huckleberry Finn. Do you purge that? No, you don't. It was the usage of the time. Now people can read that and be shocked by it. Read that and go, well, that is your 19th century for you. Read that and be so shocked that you never want to read it again. That's you practicing your liberty. But when you purge history, nobody gets to make that choice. When you erase those things that some special tribunal has gathered together and said, oh, this no longer passes current muster, well, then it's no longer there for anyone. And that's when the bullies win. And that's never good. That's never good. All righty. Now, some Jimmy going to take us out. That's always a good thing. And then I'll have a final word for you, tell you where Larry is, because if you don't know, you're going to want to, because it is a very special thing. And it's always special to be here with you. Mark Davison for Larry. Be right back.
All across America, The Larry Elder Show.
America has been doing some soul searching lately. Perhaps you noticed. We're examining what's right with America and what can be made better. No other country does this kind of introspection better than us. Some of what we found we don't like and will change. Every life has the right to be treated with dignity and respect. That includes our law enforcement as well as every skin color. We've been through this before in America, and we always came out stronger. We will this time too. Our hosts will make sure of that. We are the answer. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Here's the former vice president asserting that the sitting president is going to attempt to steal the election on November 3rd. This is what he said.
It's my greatest concern, my single greatest concern. This president's going to try to steal this election. This is the guy who said that all mail-in ballots are fraudulent, direct voting by mail, while he sits behind the desk in the Oval Office and writes his mail-in ballot to vote in the primary.
That's his biggest fear, is that Donald Trump will steal the election. So here we go again with, it was Russia, right? Russia interfered with the election in 2016. Russia got Trump elected, according to the narrative that resulted in an investigation, which led to a complete rebuke of that dubious claim. But it looks like they're going to go back to it again. They're going to go back to election fraud.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
I want to share with you Raynard Jackson's comments, because this came from the White House, where the president is sort of, in his way, on a listening tour. You know, I know that the rap against Donald Trump is that he doesn't listen to anybody, and that, of course, is a lot of hogwash. He does listen. He ultimately makes decisions based on his gut, on his instincts, on what got him to the White House in the first place. But quite frankly, anybody who's been around him recognizes he does spend a lot of time listening to advisors, listening to people who are willing to bend his ear. So here's Raynard Jackson.
But what I'd like to say to you, Mr. President, is kind of off the beaten path. I'd like to say to all the media assembled here that I wish they would quit lying about what you've done specifically for the black.
Welcome back to the Larry Elder Show.
Little Commodore's action from Machine Gun 1974. There's Lionel. I feel sanctified. I do. Feel very fortunate, very blessed, very grateful to be here for Larry. And I'll tell you, you're going to be grateful to Larry when you find out what he's been up to, what he's doing today, tomorrow, and over the weekend. It is an oral history of black conservatism. A bunch of people, Larry himself included, but other folks you know, like Alan West, Candace Owens, Herman Cain, and some folks you don't know yet, but you will, because they are all in the cast, I guess you would say. They're all part of Uncle Tom, film to be released tomorrow at uncletom.com. Holy cow, there it is. There's an eyebrow raiser, as it should be. I hope eyebrows are raised. I hope attention is focused. I hope people go, wow, what's that? Because you know what it is? It's greatness. It is Larry, director Justin Malone, the folks who put this together and who are a part of it, tell a proud history of black conservatism. And it is inspiring, and I hope it spreads like osmosis throughout the land. Hope the movie does, and then I hope the mindset does. It is called Uncle Tom, and it's watchable at uncletom.com. See the preview, see the trailer right now, and see the full film tomorrow. So there you go. I leave you with that. And I leave you with a couple of other things, too. Speaking of thanks to Sean and Christian for making this always so pleasant and such fun. Thanks to all of you for listening to Larry and tolerating me when I come hang out. And if you want, if you just can't have enough of me, I'm on 660 AM The Answer in Dallas, Fort Worth. We have podcasts of old shows if you want to grab those for your listening and dancing pleasure. Me in book form, or at least just a few of my thoughts in battling back with good humor and goodwill against the left, are contained in the pages of Upside Down, How the Left Turned Right into Wrong, Truth into Lies, and Good into Bad. That's a lot of subtitle. Just go Mark Davis, Upside Down, and just find that on Amazon, and boom, there you go. Buy it, enjoy it, and let me know about that. Follow me on Twitter at Mark Davis. We began today's show, as I do every local show that I do, began it with a prayer, and with your permission, I will leave you with one. Essentially just asking God again, as this day reaches close to its end, as we head forward into tomorrow and the weekend with so many problems around us, virus, racial strife, all kinds of things, diseases doing stuff to us, government doing stuff to us, people coming after the culture, coming after the flag. Lord, let us fight hard and fight smart, and let us fight in a godly fashion. Let us treat each other with respect and patience, working together to change those things that should really be changed, and fighting back toughly and smartly against those who would change those things that should be left alone. If we follow you, Lord, we can get through anything. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen. Thanks, everybody. Go to LarryElder.com, LarryElder.com, and we'll see what Larry has in store for us. I think you'll hear back from him on Monday about the rollout of Uncle Tom. It's going to be great. God bless our country, our troops, our families, and our cops. Have a fantastic rest of your day. I'm Mark Davis. See you next time I'm here. Be good.
You're listening to The Larry Elder Show.